It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here. We'll talk a little bit about the new Windows 11 beta channel, some weird improvements, actually some really nice improvements with the Task Manager. We'll give you a demo of that. The Bill Gates report, the independent report on Microsoft discrimination and harassment is out. What will Microsoft do about that? And we celebrate a very, very big day for Call of Duty fans. Season 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 ships today. Paul will sing its praises and a lot more. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 803, recorded Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. D++. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Code Comments, an original podcast from Red Hat that lets you listen in on two experienced technologists as they describe their building process and what they've learned from their experiences. Search for Code Comments in your podcast player. And by Thinkst Canary. Detect attackers on your network while avoiding irritating false alarms. Get the alerts that matter. For 10% off and a 60-day money-back guarantee, go to canary.tools/twit and enter the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. And by Unify Meeting from Memo Monitors. Unify simplifies your work life by combining your favorite video conferencing solutions into one reliable, universal user interface. Visit unifymeeting.com, enter the code WW50 for 50% off a year's subscription, or use the code WW to get 25% off any of Memo's displays. Limited time offer. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com, First Ring Daily, leanpub.com, all of the things. And he has a giant mug of, what is in your mug today?
Oh my God, this is pamplemousse LaCroix.
Ooh.
Pamplemousse flavor.
Grapefruit. Yum.
They strain a mousse.
It's grapefruit.
I don't speak French, but I think that's what that means.
Yeah. It's made with mousse. Yummy, yum. I like the LaCroix, actually. They're not a sponsor, but I like them. We have LaCroix.
We usually get the Kirk Croix, as we call it, when we go to Costco, but somehow we ended up with this. I don't know. Is
that a cherry Croix?
No, it's just like the fake Kirkland Croix.
Oh, the Kirk Croix. I get it. Yeah, I guess I should say this every time for the next few episodes. Yes, there's no Mary Jo, you notice. She's moved on. She is now editor-in-chief.
She's chasing rabbits out of the farm.
We sold her to the farmer. No, she's that's mean. She's in a better place. It's called Directions on Microsoft.com.
Right, that's right.
And where she's editor-in-chief. But she'll join us from time to time. And I don't know, I think we should start getting Rich Campbell all queued up because he said he would be able to visit us in December. I have another question for you, actually, and I'll ask it on the air. And I don't know what about Chris Caposello? Was that a Mary Jo thing, or do you have access as well?
I do have access, but we had gotten word that this might not be happening this year, previous to Mary Jo leaving. So I'll verify that, but I know.
Yeah, let me know. Usually it's the last show of the year, which would be... I guess December 21st.
I said, if this happens, you should come back for that one.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
But I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's too bad because I have already ordered my ugly Christmas sweater. No, not this. The one with Clippy on it.
Yep.
And for the first time, because usually he'd come on and he'd wear it, and I'd say, I got to get that. And then, of course, they're long gone. So this time I paid attention. They went on sale yesterday, I think.
75 buttskis.
Yeah, well, they're not cheap. Yeah. And it's probably going to be ugly.
Coming, supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah? Are you getting one too? Good. So let's wear that on December 21st.
In the meantime, I have this little bit of swag.
Never forget. Is that a laptop sheath?
It's like a... Well, no, it's like a gadget bag. It really, what it is a really poorly made, like, see how it kind of runs off the bottom.
For those not watching, it says, it's not folded properly. It says,
it's as shoddily done as Clippy itself.
It's a Clippy with the words never forget. That'd be a great tattoo. You might consider that right on the bicep there.
Ah, geez. So the better, so if you look at his eyes are both round here. I think the classic Clippy image is one eye is kind of cockeyed a little bit, like half closed, because he looks like drunk. And that's how I'll always think of Clippy, half in the bag, has no idea what's going on. He's tripping over stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. In the bag. Yeah. Clippy is in the bag.
Clippy is in the bag.
I was just looking to see if I could find a picture of Clippy to verify.
Clippy got into the hard liquor again. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the sweater. There's the ugly sweater. Now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Microsoft is so far ahead of the game when you think about it. Little digital assistants coming on screen to help you out and stuff.
They're so good at that.
It's all the rage now. Except now it's AI that just does things for you. It doesn't help you do it. It just does it.
Right.
It's like, Clippy, I need to write a report about Columbus. It needs to be 800 words long, and please cite 3 sources. That kind of thing.
Yeah. He does look kind of a little toasted.
Yeah. It's like
a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's not the news. That's not the big news of the day. Should be. Paul and Leo getting ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yep.
But there is Windows 11 news. We should probably talk about that as well.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody.
I'm sorry. So sorry.
I was hoping to see some builds today, and to my knowledge, that has not happened yet. Maybe it will happen during the show, but we did get a set of beta channel builds last week. So the version that, remember, some come with new features, some don't. It looks like they're working on the task manager now, which is fantastic. Another set of screenshots I'll have to retake. Thank you for that.
Jeez.
No, it's okay. Actually, in writing about task manager, one of the things I was thinking about and was surprised was not there was a search box, right? Search for processes, search for background processes, whatever they might be. And that is coming. And so that's cool. I mean, this is just minor stuff. The big refresh to Task Manager came, actually, I think it was, I can't remember anymore if it was the first version of Windows 11 or 22H2, but it's been refreshed mostly for the better. The one thing that's weird about it is it used to have tabs across the top, which is kind of an old-fashioned look now, but when you have tabs on the screen, you can see what each of the tabs is because there's a word there, right? And if you look at Task Manager today, it uses that kind of Windows 11 style app navigation scheme where there's a navigation bar that's collapsible on the side, but it's collapsed by default. And you can't actually tell what any of the icons are, which is actually a huge problem in Windows 11 in general, by the way. You can expand it to see what they are, but you can't leave it expanded. I think if you resize it to a certain size, it will stay expanded. But anywho, so that's getting better. That's most of what I would say is new. I think there's a settings sync, which is kind of like the thing they were getting rid of in Windows 11, is apparently making some form of a comeback. Possibly, it's in the beta channel, so it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But that's it. I just got an exciting notification on my Apple Watch telling me that I achieved a move goal while I was sitting here doing the podcast.
Doing absolutely nothing.
So
that proves that kids podcasting is good for you.
So all that gesticulating really helps.
Yeah, that's good. It thought you were exercising when instead you were just gesticulating.
Yeah, I'm not going to get any like stand goal stuff here while I do the show, unfortunately. But
well, you can't. One thing at a time. You closed your activity ring, and that's what matters. Jeez, that's funny. I didn't know you wore an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Gave up on that Windows Watch, huh?
Well, no, Leo, it gave up on me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I like the Microsoft Band. But Microsoft doesn't have that stick-to-itiveness or whatever.
Have they said anything about the amazing shifting magnifying glass?
No, and that's actually something that really that's part of the bother of this. This is the type of thing that you would expect to appear. Just so we're clear, if no one knows what he means, Windows 11 to date has had a magnifying glass icon in the taskbar for search. When you mouse over it, you get a little pop-up that comes up, a flyout that shows you some of your recent searches. And you click it, and obviously search appears. Some people are now seeing a pill-shaped search box that says search on it. So it looks different. In fact, let me look at this computer because it has been changing.
We talked about this last week, and I had the magnifying glass. I now have the pill. And you know what? The thing that's lost, which I really is sad about, is as you talked about, the right-click on it, which gave me his search history, and it doesn't do anything.
Mouse over it. Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything anymore.
So actually, this is my third computer now that has it. Here's the thing.
It's leaking out bit by bit.
Yeah, it feels like a mistake. It's obviously incomplete. It should do that mouse over thing. There's no reason why it can't. This particular computer, we were talking about this briefly before the show. This is just an insight into the darkness of my soul. The thing that makes me crazy the most is just like the inconsistencies across multiple computers. I'm trying to write a book. I want to be able to say this is this. And now I have to say things like this may be this, and sometimes it's this. Sometimes it's I don't know why. And then, time will go by and maybe one of them disappears or something. I don't know. But here's what I do know. Multiple computers. I just sent back 8 computers I reviewed to PC Maker. So I had fewer computers to look at than I used to, but I still have tons of computers. And most of them are sort of on the same build. This particular computer that I'm using here, which I literally wiped out last weekend and installed using the ISO that Microsoft gives you from their website. And in an effort to get to the very latest build, it's not on the very latest build. I have the search pill we've been discussing on this computer. What I don't have is right-click and task manager. It's not there on this one computer. I have the update that delivers that feature. That has been installed. No, this stuff makes me crazy.
Yeah, I have the right-click and task manager, but I also have the search pill.
No, this is
What's weird is I don't think I got an update. It was Patch Tuesday yesterday. Maybe it came in the Patch Tuesday that I didn't. That's
so Patch Tuesday was last week.
Oh, it was last week. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. Remember, it was like the 9.
And I'd already applied it. And I still had the old-fashioned magnifying glass. Now I have the search pill.
Right. So I don't have I don't have right-click task manager. I went to the Microsoft catalog, manually downloaded the update, tried to install it, and they said, you already have this. It's on your computer. Actually, I just looked at the build. I do have the latest build. I'm sorry. I'm on 22.621.819, which is, I think, the latest stable build. And I don't have some of the feed. I can't explain this. So I got a cumulative update for the Windows 11 Insider preview on 11.11. Maybe that was of course, you're on the right.
Yeah.
I do have suggested actions. I don't know what to tell you.
Somebody in the chat room said it's inconsistency as a service.
Yeah. This is my biggest pet peeve of all. I don't get it. So there you go. I was telling Leo earlier, my wife wanted to reset her computer, start from scratch. She's been using it for a couple of years. It's starting to slow down or whatever. I'm like, no problem. I literally am writing that chapter for the Windows 11 book right now. This is fresh in my brain. Not that it matters because I reset computers all the time. In fact, those 8 PCs I sent back all were reset, right? So I could send them back. And I did that all in one day. I do this all the time. And in the process of resetting her computer, what we wanted to do for her was, let me see if I can, it was save her data and do a refresh, essentially, not clean the disk, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then it came, like in the middle of it, it said, we weren't able to save your stuff. Sorry about that. I was like, wait, what? Like, I've never seen that before.
We couldn't save it. We couldn't save her. Sorry, we tried.
We did the best we could. It wasn't happening. I mean, it just flatlined. I know I've never seen this message before. I must have used PC Reset 1,000 times in my life. I must have. I've never seen that message.
We couldn't
just never seen it.
Sorry, we
couldn't do it. We
save
tried. We wanted. We
tried.
wanted it. We did everything we could. The patient was unresponsive. I don't know why the death jokes keep coming. So it's just.
I know why, but I'm not telling you.
It's okay. So it's just the way things have been for me. Anyway, so I don't know what to tell you, but you're in a different situation.
I am
you're
in
the beta channel.
I'm an insider. Yeah.
Actually, so you should bring up Task Manager and see if you have the new search box.
Oh,
you might even have the new stuff.
Right click on the taskbar, open Task Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, type a name, publisher, or PID to search.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Name, publisher, or PID.
Process
PID
ID.
Does it actually say that, or you just know that?
It says PID. No, it doesn't say that. That's
right.
I think what it means.
No, I think you're 100% right. I'm just saying that's a terrible acronym to put in a search box when no one would know what that means.
Well, if you're using Task Manager, you got to know what a PID is.
Come on.
Come on.
Do you know what a PID is? No, then you can't run this.
No, not allowed. Let me just.
That you might be searching by process ID, by the way. Like this would ever come up.
It does in reason I know it is because it does in Linux a lot, or any Unix operating system. When you do like a command like top, it'll show you the process
you'll
IDs.
see the PID. Yeah.
And then if you want to do kill, you kill it by process ID. But what's interesting about this is it doesn't show the process IDs. So
it can. Oh, by the way, it can.
I can turn that on by adding a column or something.
That's right. That's funny. In fact,
you don't know what a PID is, and you don't know what the PID is. So forget the PID, baby. Funny. The PID's not. You can't handle the PID.
I like that the right-click menu says PID too, but doesn't explain what it is. It doesn't spell it out right. It's funny. Wow. You could sort by PID. Why would you want to sort by PID? Whatever.
Where do you see PIDs? I don't see PIDs.
Right-click the column, column headers. Like, CPU memory.
So you can add it to your column headers.
You can add it. Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm right-clicking. There's PID. There you go. Some things have no PID. Is that possible? How could you not have a PID?
Oh, the mysteries of Windows are many.
Sort by PID. System interrupts, Windows default lock screen, Windows shell, Microsoft Edge has no PID. Widgets, Discord, Firefox has no PID. Nothing has a PID. Oh, I guess it's only services.
Is it all background?
It's all maybe that's it. It's just got to be background. Yeah, no foreground. It's all services. That's what it is. But even things like Runtime Broker and Runtime Broker 2 have no PID. Oh, yes, they do. They have a PID. If I expand it, I have to expand it, and then I will see the PID.
Even some. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Oh, I see. Same thing with Edge. It has so many PIDs.
That's right. It sure does. One might say it has too many PIDs.
Yeah. Okay. Now I see. Same with Firefox. Probably has a long. Yeah. Firefox PIDs go on and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice thing about Edge, at least it labels their processes, so I can see what tab it is. Not with Firefox. It's just Firefox. It also with Edge has a little green leaf symbol.
Yeah, for efficiency mode.
Yeah.
So this is Edge actually does have some advantages over other browsers when you run it on Windows 11. And one of them is that it integrates with this Windows 11 feature called efficiency mode by default. You can actually turn that off, but you kind of want that. It basically, it takes the load off the CPU. I have a feeling in the future, efficiency mode is going to expand to include other resource usage like RAM, obviously, GPU probably. But today it's just for CPU. It's actually a new troubleshooting tip for Windows 11 because one of the things you can do if you have an application that's not responding is go into Task Manager instead of kill it because maybe it's Word and you have a document you haven't saved or something like that. You can right click and try to put it into efficiency mode, and that actually takes the load off of the CPU. And I've never run into an actual real world example where this works in the sense that I've never had a hung application that I could put into efficiency mode to rescue it. But the idea is it's supposed to possibly do that, and if it does, you don't have to kill it, and then you can save your data, close it, reopen it if you want to, something like that. So Edge is the kind of poster child for this. So if you have a Intel 12th or 13th gen with efficiency cores, it would be kind of cool if it would allocate those to the efficiency cores. You know nothing about Windows, Leo. That's hilarious. No, I'm sure that's the plan.
You ignorant slut. You know nothing about Windows.
I don't know this magical world you live in your brain where everything just makes sense. Maybe
that must be the plan. Come on, tell me that's the plan.
It's got to be. It's got to be
the plan.
It's got to be.
I like the little green leaf though. That's cool.
I do too.
Yeah. Widgets gets a green leaf. That's nice.
So I don't know if you could do it to Firefox, but I've done this with things like Word and Notepad. If you right-click one of the other processes in there, you should be able to put it into efficiency mode.
Ah, nice. So you have to do it manually for Firefox. Right-click.
Yeah, and I don't know that I don't
efficiency
want to touch
mode.
anything.
Yeah, no.
It's not available everywhere. It's not for every app. And actually, I think sometimes you might have to expand the outside container and get to the exe. Yeah, like in Notion, for example, Notion has 8 processes running somehow on my computer, and I can put individual processes into efficiency mode. But the idea there is you can see the CPU column, you can see if something's hammering it,
right?
And you can just as a temporary, like maybe this will save it. Kind of.
You can also see power usage. I wish I could show you mine because I know you but I wish I could show the audience mine. I'm having trouble getting the output of this computer, but boy. This is nice. You can sort by status, what's paused, what's efficient. You can you can take a look at power usage ranging from low, very low to high, I guess. This is really really cool. This is nicely done.
I do think there's a plan, by the way. I was kind of joking earlier. I don't know specifically with efficiency cores, but I think one of the ideas here is that in the beginning, you give one capability and you make it manual. And then over time, you add additional capabilities, like I said, related to RAM or GPU or whatever. And then you make it automatic, right? Like ideally, Windows gets more sophisticated over time, and applications that are written correctly can automatically go into efficiency mode or whatever, or take advantage of efficiency mode. And it will be more wide ranging than just CPU usage. But early days, we'll get there. I hope.
I hope.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. That's a really, really nice feature, the task manager. It always cracks me up when you launch a task manager on a system and, it shows you, if you sort it, the default sort usually is CPU usage. And the top thing is the task manager.
This task manager, yeah. Right. Well, if you have enough stuff running, that won't be the case. But
that's the top thing on mine. It's pretty funny.
And if you ever doubted that Edge was a sophisticated near operating system type program, Edge has its own task manager that you can access through this, that system menu. Go down to, I think it's more tools, and you'll find a task manager option in there. And who is spending their life doing that?
Yeah.
It's like micromanaging browser tasks. But maybe for a developer, that might be valuable. Maybe it's a developer tool just to see if you're...
I find them handy if you're having problems being able to go into the task manager and see what's using all that memory, or what's using all that CPU, or what's running in the background. And I really like this efficiency thing. It's
brand new.
It's an analog to the nice command on Unix's.
That's pretty good.
You could tell something to be nice, and it won't hog the CPU.
The rare instance where Linux actually is simpler and cleaner.
Well, it's not the same thing. I mean, efficiency. I think it's more than nice. I would think it's especially if you have efficiency cores. Nice just says don't lock the processor.
Play nice. No, I mean, I think that's a neat. That's actually a great name.
Yeah, be nice. Steal it. Play nice.
Microsoft, be nice and steal it. No one will notice.
No one will know. All right. I just noticing. So I'm reading ahead again. I'm sorry. I apologize. But because I saw your next item, and I thought, well, let me launch Photos. And sure enough, I can. It says you want to use iCloud. You want to have your iCloud photos, my Apple photos, and I said, yeah. So you have to go to the store and download it, but. That's really cool. Now I can turn on iCloud for Windows,
and perhaps predictably, I should say, I do not see that.
Oh, of course.
But suppose, maybe I need to update the app. So as of just, I think a couple of days ago, this capability, which they've been testing in the Insider program, is rolling out to everybody who has Windows 11. So this is iCloud integration in the Photos app. This is fine. I would prefer this to be like an open platform and it's available to everybody, and even a third party could write plugins or whatever that would bring whatever cloud service into this app. I think this would make
that would be awesome,
useful.
Like Amazon Photos or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. And Google Photos, especially for me anyway, selfishly. But yeah, no, I mean, this is good. I use some Apple devices, and iCloud is one of those things I have great difficulty with, actually. So, for example, the other day I was looking at my iPad for whatever reason, because, I do stuff like I'm stupid. I go through settings. I look like how much storage am I using? And one of the big items, so I think the third or fourth biggest item was photos. I'm like, that's fascinating. I don't use photos on my iPad. Why is this happening? And it turns out I had some number of gigabytes of space wasted by photos that were synced from iCloud to my iPad. I'm like, okay, well, this should be easy to solve. And 200 Google searches, and about 2 hours later, I finally figured out not just how to delete them and be sure I'm not deleting them from the cloud, right, which is one of the big issues, but how to do that efficiently, because there's no select all command in the iPad or an iOS or iPadOS. And if you have several thousand photos in there, like I did, you have to kind of swipe up the screen and let it, scroll by so you can get to the top. That's dumb. It turns out there's a handy shortcut for doing that. This isn't an iPad show, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. Who cares? But the point is,
we'll say that for iOS today.
You can. I'm sure. Yeah, sure. Micah knows it. You guys can do that on some other show. But it was stupid, and I wasted my time. But the integration or the interaction on via iCloud of my photos between my couple of iPhone, iPad devices, whatever, to me is very confusing. Obviously, I don't think I figured it out. I think I just deleted. I'm sure if I go back today, there are photos there because I took more photos. But this is a good capability, and this is the type of thing I want. Like, to me, this is more along the lines of what I would want than what Apple does. When I know what Apple does is great for Apple people who are on Apple everything, but for me, I prefer to go into an app I want to use and say, yes, I want this integration, and have those photos kind of show up, because this makes them available to all of the things that are in Windows 11 that you can do with photos. And I don't just mean like editing and stuff like that. I mean, sharing them in different ways, using Nearby Share, that feature I keep talking about that nobody uses, or sharing them via the Mail app if you want to, mail photos, whatever it might be. This is cool, because this was a hole that has been filled, but it's still a hole. Like, you said Amazon Photos, or if you're using Google Photos or whatever, Flickr or whatever other service. I'd love to see this be more of an open thing that other services could latch into.
I'm going to assume that Apple writes the iCloud app for Windows. It's not a Microsoft app.
That's right.
So, but they have, you can turn on syncing with iCloud Drive, with photos, contacts and calendars will sync with Outlook, bookmarks will sync with Edge, Chrome, or Firefox. You can sync your passwords with Edge or Chrome, which I'm going to turn that off.
You could.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to do that. But what it does, and it's actually very generous of Apple, because what it does, of Apple, of Microsoft, Apple would never do this with Android. Yeah. Right, but what it does is it means that I could, for instance, use the password manager on my iPhone and sync it up with the password manager in Edge. Right. And that's great. That's a nice feature. It is great.
Yep.
So
I like these connections between ecosystems are always fascinating to me. It's always a little depressing because there are holes everywhere. Like you said, Android, whatever. But
look, there's all my iCloud photos. That's really awesome, and it's up to date.
It's nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
It has
it's Microsoft, so it probably won't always be up to date, but
it puts a little iCloud icon, so I know where it came from in my photos. Right. This is really nice.
I should look for mine.
Oh, and now it's syncing, and I'm seeing the number of photos go up very rapidly. So I think it's probably syncing to OneDrive, which is good. Let's have another backup. Let's have another backup of my photos. Oh, look at that.
Well,
1,945 photos synced.
Well,
that's nice. Okay, I like it. I like it.
This is especially good because the iPhone integration stuff that Microsoft provides in Windows 11 is almost non-existent, right? Use that PC Link app or whatever they're calling it this week, and our phone link or whatever. And it's just not very good. There's a lot of stuff on Android. There's a lot of stuff if you have a Samsung phone. If you have an iPhone, you just really don't get much at all. Right. And so this is nice.
And I can export my iCloud photos to Clipchamp. So there you go.
That's exactly the kind of integration I was talking about. Although, well, no, I'm not going to. Although that I have something for later about video editing. We'll get to that later.
Oh, save it.
Yes, that's the point. You can integrate it with anything that's in Windows 11 that can accept photos. So good.
I have really. I'm sorry that my technology has failed. I would love to show you this whole thing, but for some reason I can't get the screen off this Dell into our system. But it comes and goes. Sometimes I can. Like every morning I come in and say, "Will I be able to see it today?" Today I cannot, alas, but it works. I can vouch for it, and it worked nicely.
Not to keep ripping on Apple products, but my iPhone will no longer connect to the Bluetooth in my car for music. It does it for the phone. So this is a goofy coincidence, but I have exactly 4 USB-A to Lightning cables in my possession. 3 of them are in Mexico. So the one that's in the car is damaged. So it doesn't work all the time. And I almost don't have any way to play music or podcasts or whatever in the car. And I sit there and I flip the cable around because sometimes it works one way or the other. And this is what it's like for me to use technology. This is, I think, maybe it's not just Microsoft. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I'm trying.
It's
I have three of these cables. Three of these cables in Mexico.
Yeah.
3.
So you rent a car in Mexico?
No, I just have 3 of the cables. One of them came with the Apple TV, right? One of them
the car's in Pennsylvania, but the cables are in Mexico. Right. That might be part of the problem.
Literally, there was because you know how you get compulsive, you're traveling, and I have an iPhone.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what if I want to charge this thing on the plane? They'll have a USB-A cable, so I need to have this cable. So I had one in my gadget bag. I had one out in the kitchen, and then as we were leaving the car, I said I should grab this cable just in case. I brought it to Mexico because the cable needs to see Mexico. And then I have one in the apartment because we have an Apple TV, and that's how you charge the remote. So I have 4 of these damn cables. They're all in Mexico, and I'm like, I'm going to bring one of them home. I never need these things again. The one I bring home is broken. And this is what my life's like.
Oh my God.
I own 4 of them.
This is what happens when you have 2 homes.
I'm sorry.
You have to get 2 of everything, Paul.
I have 4 of everything. I didn't think I needed even one of these.
You're not supposed to bring them all to Mexico.
I didn't mean to. I just did. And then I only brought one home.
We have the opposite. We have the opposite problem when we travel. Lisa, this is like that insurance ad where you said you would pack the life vests. Lisa says, you said you would pack the cables. Right. I said, I thought you packed the cables.
See, we have very specific jobs when we travel. I'm passports and cables.
That's passports and cables.
Tech.
That's good.
That's pretty much, that's it.
Yeah. We're grown-ups. We each are responsible for our own passports, but not apparently for cables. For cables, That's my job.
No, they asked my wife for a passport. I'm like, I got this. Okay, I got this.
I got it, man. Okay, stand back.
I don't know why you're talking to her.
I got the passports.
No, I just carry them in my bag.
No, that's smart actually. Who carries the tickets? Do you have that worked out?
Well, those are all electronic now, so we both. have
that's cool.
Apps or whatever.
Oh wow, you're very fancy. I did for the first time. I used my watch to.
Did I? So
check in.
When the first Apple Watch came out, I was still living in Boston. I was flying JetBlue all the time, so I had status. It was awesome. And one of the first apps that was on Apple Watch was JetBlue. I could not wait to check in with my wrist. I could not wait. So they have this little scanner machine that's sitting there on the desk. You walk up, most people put their ticket under it. It puts the light on, whatever. So I go to put my wrist under there, and it's like this high, so I can't fit the thing on the wrist. And she's like, you're going to have to take the watch off. And I'm like, I don't think it works if it's off my wrist. And she's like, do you have a paper ticket? I'm like, no, I thought I was going to do it with my wrist.
What did you do?
They let me in. They did.
In the early days, they didn't have readers that had room for you to put your wrist in.
That's right. No, I experienced this. Yep.
I remember.
I was so
I remember standing in line with somebody doing the same thing, going,
"Yep,
man, come on, man." In fact,
Damn.
I have only just now not done the insurance printout of the boarding pass. I'm only now trusting these devices.
No, we've trusted devices for a while, but I have
now.
To this day never checked into an airplane using an Apple Watch. I tried it once and I was like, "Yep, I give." That's
the ticket going to a concert ticket. These guys, monopolists, horrible. You saw what happened with Ticketmaster and Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
You can now, by the way, if you want to see Taylor Swift, you can buy a ticket, but it's $100,000. Anyway,
wait, what?
Don't get me. No, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. So,
well, she needs a new studio, so it's going to go to a good cause.
So, when we went to Vegas down to see Katy Perry, she uses AXS, which is a competitor to Ticketmaster.
Yeah, we have that here.
You have to have the app, and you cannot screenshot or print the QR code because they're so paranoid. They change it every 30 seconds. It's a revolving QR code.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you have to have it on your phone. And you can't send, like I couldn't send Lisa a screenshot. She had to, I have to have both tickets or she has to have the AXS app with access to my account. I guess there's a reason to be that paranoid, but you can't print it. You can't screen cop. It even says, no, don't bother. Don't bother screen capturing this. It's going to be different in 30 seconds.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Talk about security.
Wow.
I'm glad the airlines are not doing that. Thank you.
Oh, don't give me any ideas. This is next.
It's not because people aren't vying to get into the airplane.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no like, I want to be in the front row. No, I'm in the front row. By the way, another reason this is why I liked the concert in Vegas, because they have burly, scary ass security guards. When we went to see Motley Crue, nobody sitting around us had tickets to sit around us. They all snuck down.
Right.
And the ticket holders would show up and they go, oh, and they'd leave. And then they move to the other seat. Oh. And the guards are completely overwhelmed. They can't stop it. Yeah. At the end of the show, there's a rush to get to the front. It's not worth sitting close to the front if you're not in Vegas. But if you're Vegas,
what was the stadium in Vegas?
It wasn't. It was inside at the Resort World's Theater, which is nice. It's a very nice theater. It was Katy Perry's theater. Now it's Luke Perry's. Luke somebody.
It's Luke Perry?
Luke Perry.
It's probably not
Luke Perry.
I think you're dead. I think
some country guy named Luke. Yeah, not Luke Perry. And then, I like the purpose-built theaters. Aerosmith apparently is amazing at MGM Park because they have the theater has been built for them for the sound, and they have sound in the seats. And
I don't want to live in Vegas, but it would be worth living there just for concerts.
Lisa and I say the concerts, restaurants, and just shows in general.
Yep.
And let's not forget the rodeo.
No, let's.
There's nothing to compete with the Calgary Stampede. I'm just going to say that right now. Let's talk about the SDK, which is like the PID, only for developers.
Well, I bet SDK is a little better understood by mainstream people, but the software developer kit, this is for the Windows App SDK. This is the successor to the Universal Windows platform. A couple of big differences. It's first of all, it's moving forward. So it's all WinUI 3, which, UWP is kind of stuck on WinUI 2, which is like the modern UI shell, the Chrome bit. But also they did that versioning thing where one of the problems with UWP is that as they added new features, they were specific to some version of Windows 10 and now 11. And it made it very hard for versioning because you want to use this feature, but you have to do a check at the beginning, make sure they're running the right version. And so the way that the Windows App SDK works is that these features are all available on any supported version of Windows 10 or 11. And that's kind of cool. So they usually release an update of this alongside their .NET and Visual Studio updates, which come out every November and did come out, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago now. .NET 7 and the latest version of Visual Studio. So the App SDK kind of maps to that. And a couple of things. First of all, third-party widget support, which is not actually in the OS yet, but developers can now use the Windows App SDK to create packaged Win32 apps. These are desktop apps that are packaged, not UWP or modern style apps. that will become widgets in the widget board that's available in Windows 11. Right now, if you're in the Insider program, you can access third-party widgets, but this will be coming mainstream or to stable sometime soon. Some WinUI 3 updates, new controls, especially around media playback. There's a new voice feature, which actually uses the Azure Communication Service on the back end, which is the same service that Microsoft uses for calling in Microsoft Teams. So that's not going to work at all. And then native ARM64 developer support. So you could already write Windows App SDK apps that would run on Windows 11 on ARM, but now that you can develop apps on Windows 11 on ARM using a native version of Visual Studio, which just came out a week or two ago, you can also, this is one of the workloads you can target. So I don't remember every workload, but if you think about Visual Studio and all the different things you can do, because it's everything from desktop apps to IoT to server and cloud apps and whatever, AI, whatever. There's a subset of those that work on ARM. I know it's the desktop stuff. I know it's the .NET stuff. So you could write a Windows Form app, a Windows Presentation Foundation app. You could write a C++ desktop app for some reason. I don't ever do that. I suspect web app is in there somewhere. I don't remember the exact list of workloads. But one of the workloads is Windows App SDK apps, right? So these are the modern apps that you would create for Windows 10 or 11. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
Does anyone... Well, I this comes up a lot with, what's the future with app development on Windows? I don't think there is a future for Windows app development. I don't think there's some new API, some new SDK coming down the pipe that's going to be awesome for everything. I think this is an interesting thing to do because it lets you take an existing app and then put a modern front end on top of it. I don't actually know for a fact that this is how they did it, but I think Notepad is a great example of that, where there's kind of a back end. And then they ripped off the shell, the part you interact with, and replaced it with I'm going to call it a WinUI front end. I actually don't know how they did it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is what it was. Notepad is an app that dates back to the 1990s, probably,
right?
In Windows NT and all that stuff. And it's been updated over the years. I know Vista had a new version. I'm sure there were new versions. But the version of Windows 11 is actually really nice. It's a nice example of a classic app with a nice kind of WinUI style front end, and maybe a good example of what you might be able to do with the Windows App SDK. So it's a good approach for existing apps. I don't think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to write my next app. I think I'll use the Windows App SDK. I don't think that's going to happen a lot, but you have an existing project of whatever complexity, you want to bring it forward and have it look modern and pretty on Windows 11. This is a good approach. So it's good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I have to say, the thing I like about you is your developer. You're because you're a developer yourself, the developer focus. In fact, you started writing books about programming, about Delphi, and I really enjoy that. Because I kind of, it's my hobby. And I know we lost our enterprise host, but I'm glad we lost an enterprise host, but we gained a developer. And I think that's that's a good thing.
No, the developer stuff matters. I mean, I did that big history of Windows thing. And
I loved that.
It was sort of a developer angle to it. But the reality is, I don't think a lot of mainstream Windows users would ever think about the history of Windows at all. But if they did, they wouldn't really think about it in terms of why were certain things invented or why were things the way they were or whatever it was. And a lot of it is because of developer reasons, because of whatever initiative was happening at the time, or whatever desire there was to update things on the back end and make things better across the stack or whatever it was. I mean, I think this is I don't know. I think it's important to have some toe in that world.
I totally agree, and it's the best hobby ever, and I think that we probably have a lot of developers who listen. Actually, I want to talk about our sponsor for this segment of the show, because it is also for developers. It's from Red Hat. So, there are a lot of developers at Red Hat. It's called Code Comments. So that gives you some idea about what you're going to get. It's an original podcast from Red Hat. You know what a comment is in code, a little reminder to others, or maybe more importantly, to yourself 6 months from now, what this section does, what this is all about. The podcast is Code Comments. It takes that idea by letting you listen in on two experienced technologists as they describe how they build their software, which is, I think, a wonderful peek into the process behind the scenes, a peek behind the curtain. I just love it. A lot of work goes into, bringing a project from whiteboard to development to shipping. And modern software, I mean, you and I write our code by ourselves, but modern software is generally a big team. Nobody's doing it alone. So the host is Burr Sutter. He's a Red Hatter, lifelong developer advocate. He knows how to talk to developers. He could speak to speak and then translate it to English. He's a community organizer. So the way the podcast goes, each episode, Burr will sit down with an experienced technologist from some part of the industry, and they'll trade stories and talk about development, talk about the life cycle of software, how a project comes to life, and what they've learned from these experiences, which is really fantastic. If you want to learn about, just go and look at the list at redhat.com/code comments podcast. I really enjoy. So the latest episode was Rethinking Networks in Telecommunications. Fascinating stuff. Deep learning in the enterprise. I guess, there's only 2 right now. So they've just started the new season, which is great. It's a brand new show. Pivotal moments in technical projects from those who lived through them. We've always talked about how we love books like that. What was the Pascal Zachary's great book about the development of Windows NT. We love that, the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's what this is in a podcast. Episodes are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Code Comments, or as I said, redhat.com/Code Comments Podcast. There are 2 out so far. You have to listen each week, which is going to make you want more, I think. Search for Code Comments in your podcast player. We'll also put a link at twit.tv/WW in the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much to Red Hat for Code Comments. And actually, I want to thank Red Hat for doing these, because they do a lot of podcasts for us geeks, for the real enthusiasts. And this is a perfect example. How projects come to life with the people who made them, the stories, the anecdotes, and all of that. Code Comments. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. On we go. Showstopper. G. Pascal Zachary. And I love the Soul of the New Machine, Tracy Kidder's classic book. Yep. I love the how they made this stuff. I just love that stuff. Yeah.
There's a fiction called, I think it's called Microsurfs.
Oh yeah, Microsurfs is great. I love that.
Microsurfs is great, but my favorite was there was a developer who was having emotional problems. He locked himself in his office, and they were afraid that he was going to starve to death. So they had to slip flat food under his door. So you could have like bologna and pizza,
fruit leathers.
It was like whatever would fit under the door was all he could eat.
That's hysterical.
I always thought it's just beautiful.
I always enjoy the behind the scenes stuff. Actually, that's what you do so well, which is great. All right. So, as some of you know, a little history lesson. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, no longer there, resigned kind of abruptly from the board. And then we got news that, maybe that was because of an investigation that was going on about Bill a consensual relationship with a subordinate inside Microsoft.
That's what he said. That's not what she said.
Oh, interesting. So Microsoft did have to, and I think appropriately so, commission an independent review. And that review is out, right?
That's right. So this isn't the first time this has happened with Gates. Gates is one of those troubling people in our industry because, like a lot of people are driven and near genius in one capacity aren't necessarily great in other aspects of life. And we don't need to beat that one to death. But the weird thing about Bill Gates, I think, is most people will always associate him with Microsoft. And I bet if you did one of those Jay Leno men on the street things and just asked who's the CEO of Microsoft, I bet a lot of people would say Bill Gates. He's just associated with the company. I don't remember the timing of all this stuff, but of course, at some point he stepped down as CEO and Steve Ballmer became CEO. And then he stepped down from day to day at some point to work on his philanthropy stuff, which raises another, interesting problem. There was a Gates documentary that I think landed during the pandemic, which was a bald-faced attempt to make him seem like a kindly old man who was out to save the world from mosquitoes and toilets and things like that. I don't remember the exact details, but that really stepped very lightly on his many problems, which I thought was disingenuous, frankly. But Microsoft, for all of the good vibes, I think that have come out of the Satya Nadella era at Microsoft, I think the one thing they haven't got a handle on yet is this poorly behaving middle-aged white man thing, for lack of a better term. This has been a problem in the tech industry since there's been a tech industry. It's been a problem for Microsoft since there's been a Microsoft. It's continuing to this day, unfortunately. They now say they're going to do something about it. And I'll take them at their word. I mean, I think Microsoft is well run today, and generally speaking, it has its heart in the right place, so to speak, if that makes sense for a company. But they had to go to Gates and be like, hey, and by they, I'm sorry, Microsoft President Brad Smith went to Gates and said, hey, this woman said you've been doing this or whatever. He claimed it was consensual, and then he stepped down from the board. And so when Satya Nadella came back, Bill Gates actually came back to Microsoft in a limited role as an advisor to Satya Nadella. So he has actually been more involved over the past several years than he had been the previous several years, but he was also on the board this whole time. So he's no longer, I would say, I think I'm correct to say now, he has no formal role at Microsoft anymore, right? Except as a shareholder. So I believe. Anyway, it's good to see that the board of directors took this seriously. Eventually, they finally did. They did go to an outside review. They've released 100 and how many pages? The 50-page report. I'm sorry.
It's a little
identified a bunch of problems.
disappointing, though, that Microsoft hasn't improved under Nadella.
Right,
which is one of the conclusions that they came up with. I find
that's funny because I've been saying that. I mean, that when you look at people like what's the guy that used to run HoloLens, Alex Kipman had this problem.
Yeah,
there have been other examples of this. The guy Mike Angelo had issues like this. He used to work on the Windows team under Steven Sinofsky. It's been an issue. It's been an ongoing issue. Now, granted, some of that predates Nadella, but I think what we're seeing here is Microsoft finally addressing this and doing so in a very transparent and public way. They are going to undertake all of the recommendations that were offered by the independent review, and they're going to be transparent and public going forward about this on a regular basis. And hopefully this kind of thing can't happen again. It's kind of tough when it's someone like Gates, obviously, because he's an industry icon and it's not the type of person a lot of people can say no to. And I mean that broadly, but this notion of harassment or I don't know what you want to call it. I'm looking for a clean word here, but is a problem. It's always been a problem in tech. And I think the good news out of this is that it took a while, but it does look like this is going to be that one part of Microsoft under Nadella that really didn't rise to the level that we kind of expected this man and this company. And it looks like they're going to turn it around. So maybe there's no reason to beat it to death, but it's disappointing.
Let's keep an eye on it because you can put out the report and not do anything. So, I mean, Brad Smith is a lot of things, but he has been very public and vocal about Microsoft as an agent of good and a company that's trying to do the right thing, whether it's, environmental or just for the industry or just even morally or whatever, which is kind of goofy. But this is overdue. But I bet they do pretty well by this. You point out in your article that Gates left when he was confronted by Smith. Brad Smith confronted Bill Gates. So good for Brad
Gates said
Smith.
It was consensual. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Smith's a lawyer, right? He understands that he has liability. The company has liability. So, there's good reason. And if you say something as a public company, you say you're going to fix something, you kind of have to fix it.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. Actually, the reason this occurred was there was an overwhelming shareholder vote to make this happen. So, one thing that was communicated to Microsoft very effectively was that the people who are the real owners of this company want this to be fixed. And they heard that loud and clear. So I think it's going to go in the right direction. I hope. I don't know. I don't like this kind of thing, but hopefully it is rectified.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on, shall we, to Microsoft 365, which in the current parlance is everything. right? It's all the stuff.
We're going to talk about this actually as we move down the list, because this is something we'll get to it. I was just thinking about this and I ended up writing about it. And
good.
Let's talk. We'll talk about that. Let's get the little stuff out of the way first, though, because that's kind of a big topic. Microsoft has an Office mobile app, as you probably know, on mobile, on Android and iOS, and possibly an iPad. I'm not actually sure about that. It kind of brings together their core apps into a single experience with some other capabilities like the Office Lens stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's a nice little app. We know that it is transitioning to become a Microsoft 365 app soon. And I think the big change there, other than the branding and some new look and feel, is that they're trying to push this notion of people who work together and can do so through this app now. And so this teams of people, in other words, in a commercial setting. But ahead of that change, they're getting rid of a couple of the, I'm going to call them file sharing features that have been available in, I think it's just the Android version of the app. One is called Share Nearby, not to be confused with Nearby Share, which is the Windows 11 feature, but does the basically the same thing. The idea is you're looking at a file, you want to share it to another person who's on an Android phone. This uses an underlying Android feature that's very similar to Nearby Share on Windows. And you share it that way. And so they're going to retire that. I think the issue there is that it only works on Android. So it's kind of goofy. So I think they're going to go with more traditional. There's already a share interface on both Android and iOS and also on Windows. And so I think the basic gist there is we have ways to share on mobile. We don't really need this. The other one is a file transfer option. I think this one is Android only, but this one might actually be on iPhone. And this is basically the idea where you can use a QR code. You scan the PC and it will institute. It will institute. What's the word I'm looking for? It'll instigate. It will begin a file share between the two devices using a QR code. And so they're going to get rid of that feature as well. Although the ability to transfer files is still, going to be in the Office app. So these things are happening, I believe, by the end of this year. I think one of them might be January. And this is the time period where we're going to be transitioning to this new app anyway. So I suspect the way this actually happens is we just get a new app and this stuff isn't there. So we'll see. Not a big deal. What is a bigger deal, although this was telegraphed, I think they announced this maybe at Ignite. We knew this was coming, but Microsoft has just implemented some casual games in Microsoft Teams. Only for enterprise and education, because obviously those are the people that need to play games the most. And they're the kind of Microsoft casual games you're familiar with, like Solitaire and Minesweeper and some others. Look, I just don't. Does everything have to have everything? Like Microsoft Edge has a game pane in the sidebar that you can play casual games in the browser. And now Teams, not for everybody, but for a lot of customers, is going to have a casual game. It's like, I don't know. So this is the world we live in. I recommended to Laurent, who wrote this story for us, that he used a picture of Fonzie jumping over the shark. He didn't understand the reference, so I got to describe that to him. And,
really? Of course not. He grew up in France, or
he grew up in France, and he's young. So interestingly, he had heard the term "jump the shark," but did not know what it came from. And I said, I didn't actually tell him this, but I watched this live when it happened.
Did you? Fonzie? Oh yeah. I was a huge fan. He was like water skiing, and there's a shark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was one of the lamest. Well, because they had done the season ender where he jumped on his motorcycle over some, barrels of cars or whatever, right? And then he crashed, and that was it was the Who Shot JR moment for the show. And they were like, well, how are we going to top this? And obviously it's Fonzie in a leather jacket, water skiing. What
was now? See, this is interesting. This is a real anthropological study, because there aren't that many people who don't know about this.
Well, actually, there probably are, right? This is common to us. We grew up with this show, and we're from the United States of America.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in different parts of the world, not so much. Like the stock footage of a shark. Oh, there's Fonzie.
There's Fonzie.
Obviously in California.
A leather jacket and bathing suit. Richie Cunningham driving the ski boat.
Sure.
And everybody's watching.
Mr. C.
Mr. C. He's on and there's Fonzie jumping in the air. And what jumps up underneath Fonzie? Boy, he really got some airtime on that.
The thing is, he could have landed where the shark was and not been hurt because the shark is under the water anyway. And he's got, I mean, I don't know. Weak. Really
Sunday,
weak.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday,
So this
Wednesday,
is one of my
happy days.
earliest examples of, this was something I loved as a child. There are things that have kind of moved forward that are still fantastic. Like I read The Lord of the Rings in the 6th grade, or trying to think what else is that one great. Like it's been great my entire life. But I remember going back and watching Happy Days as an adult and just being horrified.
Oh yes, terrible.
Horrified at how bad it was. I loved this show as a child. I mean, I was like 10 years old or something or whatever, but I thought this show was great. This show was not great. Not great.
And so the reason this is relevant is because it was kind of like they were trying to, this show had long ago expired.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, no, I mean, it had generations. Remember in the beginning it was that core group of friends.
Right.
Richie had a brother, but then Joni grew up and then it was like Joni and Chachi. It just didn't, it's not good.
And that
so,
was
the Fonz was on it the whole time.
Yeah.
He was there. He was consistent. And I think the parents, Mr. and Mrs. C. Cunningham.
Yeah, and apparently Richie, because he's driving the boat.
No, he didn't. He left eventually. He did leave.
Oh.
He was not there for probably the second half.
So really the fault lies with the network that just can't give up on a hit show.
Who's going to give up on money?
I know.
That's the problem with success.
Yosemite is back with its 5th season. And Lisa and I talked about it. We said it's rare that a show surpasses its 4th season. Like usually.
Every show I love wears out its welcome. I felt that way about like Mad Men, which was a great show. But by the time that thing ended, I was like, good.
Yep.
Get going. We just rewatched MASH, which was on TV for 11 years, 12 years.
Yeah.
And geez, by the end of it, it's like, could you please get going?
It also, it doesn't age well. I bought MASH because Apple offered it for $39 for all the episodes. And the first episode, I actually never watched more. The first episode was horrific. Hawkeye is harassing Hot Lips in a way that today would not only get him fired, but put him in jail.
There's also a crazy racial slur they use for a black guy on the show. There's a lot of harassment stuff in the early days.
And this was only the 70s. I mean,
I know. It's a good show in many ways. This is how people talk about the Confederate flag. I don't know what to say. It just doesn't.
It is. We got to move on. We got to change with the times. And
Yep. It just doesn't. It doesn't move forward.
Sometimes things don't age well. They're past their best by date.
That's right.
Not Windows Weekly, however. This show.
If there's a shark, I'll jump it, Leo. Just there's no depth that I will not fall to.
Where are we? I've lost.
That's okay. We're in the Nvidia has.
There we go.
Not just Microsoft. I don't know if you saw this. He also partnered with Oracle for something very similar. They're going to create an AI supercomputer. In this case, powered by Microsoft Azure, which I almost called Windows Azure. And they're going to use tens of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs, all of which were returned by cryptocurrency idiots who don't need them anymore, probably. And they're going to, I don't know what they're going to, I mean, not every, I would say 50% of all of the announcements I get that I care about in the slightest these days are AI related. We're going to talk about one of these in the app pick. We briefly talked about Notion as doing some kind of an AI thing where they're going to write for you, which is hilarious. Like Notion, write me a tweet about whatever topic, and here's an example. That sounds great. Eventually people like me who actually write aren't going to be needed. And I don't know what Microsoft intends to do with this. Probably deep learning, machine learning, putting me out of business. I don't know. Who knows? They'll make perfect mayonnaise. I don't know.
Did you say perfect mayonnaise?
I did.
Okay.
Mayonnaise is hard to make.
Is that something something you're seeking?
I've made mayonnaise. Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's like
mayonnaise.
The perfect hollandaise is like this.
Oh, that's hard. You're right.
I told you. Did I even tell you? So Raphael went to Cordon Bleu, right? He's a
I didn't know that. In Paris?
So I was watching. No, in
in Muncie.
I'm not sure.
It's not quite the
it's
same.
Someone else.
Okay.
Well, I know, but still. I mean, he went through that whole thing, right?
No, that's a big deal. That means he's a chef.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And we, I don't know if we were reading or watching some Julia Child's thing a million years ago. I was like, I want to make my own hollandaise. I love hollandaise sauce. And so I said, can we get it on the phone and just describe this to me? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I get this perfectly.
That's what you learn if you go to Cordon
So
Bleu.
we went the whole thing. He went down the whole list. You do this, you mix it up, you do this, you let it sit, you do this. Yeah. He goes, you get that all down? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, good. Now throw it away because hollandaise is disgusting. Okay.
That may be why it's the famous Anthony Bourdain line, chefs hate brunch. Maybe that's why.
It might be. Hollandaise is hard. Hollandaise is worse than mayonnaise.
It separates, yeah. But so
those
does
two things
mayonnaise.
are
here's the tip. If you're making your homemade mayonnaise, call it aioli, and no one will know.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll go, oh, it's aioli.
It could be anything.
It could be anything. Do you do it in the Cuisinart, though? It's pretty easy in the Cuisinart. Or a good blender. Yeah. Because it's all about an emulsion.
Yeah. It's about viscosity and the consistency of it.
Yeah. You drizzle that's the Cuisinart. It makes it pretty easy. You drizzle the oil into the Cuisinart with the egg yolks.
Sure.
Anyway, this isn't the show about perfect mayonnaise, although maybe that's the next TWiT show. But that would be jumping the shark if we did a show on mayonnaise.
I wouldn't say that. I actually think there are incredible parallels between software development and cooking. I really do.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right.
There's something weird about, we were just talking about this with Windows 11 and in this case, there's really a reason, but let's not worry about that. For some reason, most people in Windows 11 have a search icon that is normal, does the flyovers and everything. Some people have this pill. We don't know why that flyovers don't work. And it's like, you could give the same recipe to 100 people. 87 of them will get it exactly right. And the other 13, it's like, I don't know what you made. I'm not even sure you used the same ingredients.
Yeah. There's an art to it.
Yeah. There's something else to it. Even though you did exactly the same thing, it didn't come out the same way. And that part of it is weird to me too. So I don't know.
There's a lot in common because really programming is writing a recipe.
Yes. Yep.
And you have to be more explicit than you would be in real life because the computer is not a great cook.
I got into writing from a software developer professor, and I used to work in the lab at night with this other guy, Mark, and we would grade people who were taking a class. It was a C++ class.
Oy.
And really, it was a lot of copy and paste. Like there was no reason you couldn't get this. And yet, some people could not get it. And so I had this one, I'm looking over his shoulder and I'm like, geez, I don't even know what you did here. Is this a different language? I didn't know what was happening. So I brought Mark over. He was a more senior guy. And I said, Mark, what do you think? And he looked at it. He goes, I think she's going to get a D++. Good
line.
Yeah, that was it. I'm like, yep.
That's good.
I can't fix this. It's just not fixable.
D++, baby.
Yep. Just got to just accept it.
Well, now we have two show titles, Perfect Mayonnaise and D++. You're making it hard for me. Let's actually,
sorry.
You said you were going to talk about this. Microsoft 365. Every time I see this, I try to think, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, this is a broader thing. And this is actually, interestingly, I mentioned, I was just thinking about you. And I actually feel like you're in this world. I feel like you're in this space. And I feel like you're moving in this direction. And that direction is we've been kind of pushed into this world of subscription services, online services, whatever. And a lot of us, there's a fatigue to that, but some of the stuff that we pay for every month or every year is important. And I've made the case in the past especially for Microsoft 365 family, where you get 6 users, all of whom get 1 terabyte of storage and access to all of the desktop apps and all the other stuff you get from Microsoft 365 on multiple computers and mobile devices, right? For $99 a year is an incredible value, like a no-brainer, even if you just use it for just the storage, like a terabyte of storage, right? But I get these, I read in the morning on an iPad, and in my newsfeed, I'm looking at technology stories. There's all these things that are not technology stories that are in the technology section, but they're They're from technology publications, and they're really just ads. Get this Office 365 bundle for just name your price. And all you have to do is sell your soul and give them all your information, and they'll give you this PDF file or something. Yeah. But the other thing I see all the time, it's very strange, is they don't call it a perpetual license, but that's what they're actually saying. What they say is use Microsoft Office forever for just $39 or whatever the price is, right? And so sometimes I'll look at this thing and it'll be like TechCrunch or one of those sites, Wired or whatever, and they link to some site that's offering this perpetual license version of Office. It could be whatever, there are different versions of Office, of course, and it's Mac or Windows, whatever. But you're stuck on that version. That's the way that works. Microsoft still sells this product that is not Microsoft 365. It's just Office. So it's Office 2021 Professional. It has 8 desktop apps. You can install it on one computer. That's it. Right. You should be able to move it. I don't know how that works anymore. That used to be a thing. You used to be able to install it on 2 and you can move it pretty easily. Maybe they restrict that in some way. I'm not really sure. But I was thinking to myself, at some point I could imagine actually doing this, right? I am a professional writer. I could have said this on the first episode of the show we ever recorded, like 16 years ago. I could have made this claim. I use like maybe 10 or 8% of Word. I don't even use the rest of Office, right? That's all I do. I don't need much of it. They have added 1,100 features over the previous 16 years. I have no idea. I still only use 8 or 10% of it. I use the same 8 or 10% of it. I don't even use anything that's newer than 1999, probably. I have no idea. But that's the thing I need. Like, I need this product. Like, I use it. But I don't need it to be updated. Like, the central premise, one of the central premises of Microsoft 365 is you're paying every month, you're paying every year, and you're going to get all these new features. And I don't need new features. And I think a lot of people think like that. And the problem is they have this set of apps, it's like 4 to 8, depending on which version you're looking at, that are just core to Microsoft, right? Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. Maybe OneNote, maybe Publisher, maybe Access, maybe whatever else is in there. I don't know. There's some set of those apps. They're largely unchanged over the years. But then they have this giant universe of stuff that's over on the other side. That's Microsoft 365. Online services, new web and mobile apps, things that are updated all the time. I think the poster child for this stuff is Microsoft Teams, right? Teams is something that has emerged out of the gook, that is the stuff that is not gunk, that is not the traditional Office suite, and as a superstar product that's used by hundreds of millions of people, it is updated at an alarming rate every month with new features. It's a web app, really, is what it really is on the back end. That they did it that way. That they knew it was going to be cross-platform. It's not like the old days where this is going to be Windows, and it has whatever usage it has. It hasn't hit with consumers, but it's a big deal in businesses. Microsoft Loop may maybe move into this category. We'll see how that happens as it rolls out. But none of this other stuff has really emerged as anything important. I think for most people, it's storage, right?
You're right. Yeah. I mean, that's
storage.
You say that all the time when we talk about this. Look at all the storage you get.
The thing is, the storage deal on Microsoft 365 isn't actually that good. Yeah. This is not a fair comparison because, Microsoft 365 family, especially because you can do 6 people. But if you went to Google One, for example, and said, well, I'm going to give you $100 a year. What can you give me? They would give you 2 terabytes of storage, right? Not one, for one thing. Now you don't get the Microsoft Office apps, but this is like the boat anchor on Microsoft 365. It's like the thing that comes in the cereal box as a little prize. You're supposed to be there for the other stuff, but everyone just wants the old thing. And the thing is, they really want the old thing. They don't want the old thing updated with new toolbars and new features and new things. They don't want flashy new interfaces and whatever. They just want to write words or crunch numbers or send email or whatever it is. And it's kind of the central problem with Office / Microsoft 365 today, because these two things are in many ways 2 different things. You could kind of view Office, the suite, as a perk of Microsoft 365, something you get to use because you're paying for this other thing. But I bet I was talking to my wife about this because we talk about, the future and saving money and what does retirement look like and all this stuff. And I was like, if we could just kind of figure out the storage thing, I don't think I'd ever have to upgrade Microsoft Word ever again for the rest of my life. Like, I don't I don't need it to do anything else. Like I don't think I will ever need it to do anything else. And I think this is the problem that Microsoft has selling this thing, right? That there's some hundreds of millions of people that use Microsoft 365 and pay for it. I don't remember the exact number, but on the consumer side, it's as low as 160 million, something like that. They haven't given a number on the commercial side, but last time again, off the top of my head, probably not accurate, was somewhere in the 300 million range, which is, pretty good. But there are like 1.5 billion people using Office, so obviously they would like to get more money. They don't want you just to buy a version and use it forever. But I think that's what most people need. I think aside from storage, Microsoft has a problem because all that people really want is Office, which is this thing they can't update.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or people get upset. It's kind of a weird problem.
That's a really good point.
I don't know what it is, but I was thinking about, I know you go back and forth a lot on things like online services, social media, et cetera. You created this Mastodon
only lately
incidents. I called it
always. I've tried everything. But that's part of tech, and that's part of my job, your job too, is that we have to be, dilettantes. We have to try everything.
Okay. So, but here, like, for example, like everyone else on earth, apparently, I pay for Netflix, right? Netflix is the one service I'm not sure I could give up. It's like, there's always something. It's, it's the one service I think that makes the most sense, but we don't have to debate that. It's just, it is what it is. So it's, to me, Netflix
for everybody, there is something like that. The one service. Yeah.
Okay. However, one of the possible futures I imagined for myself was like my wife and I take a year off, we drive around in an RV or whatever. And what if we were offline a lot? And what if I have this NAS out here that has 1,500 movies on
movies.
it?
Yeah, most people do.
We could watch a movie every night for the rest of our lives and never get through it, A to Z, and never get through it. I'm not going to do it, probably. But I mean, it's like, do I need this thing? Do I need to pay monthly for this? I think a lot of people are starting to rethink stuff. It's awesome having like access to 70 million songs from whatever service you subscribe to, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. But I only play like 170 of them, and I own all those songs. So what am I paying for here? It's not really true. I actually do use the service, and I think a lot of other people might too. But I don't know. You could almost look at what your movie buying or music buying activities are like in a given year and compare it to the cost of a subscription service and be like, am I using this as much as I'm paying for it? And I'm not sure.
Don't get me started.
I know. Well, that's why I thought of you, because I know you're in this. I know your head's in this space.
Oh gosh, if we have a sponsor called Rocket Money that was Truebill. I don't know if you ever used Truebill in the day. And
I actually told my wife about this. We did this ad last week.
Yeah, it finds old subscriptions. And it's so depressing to see the stuff that I've been paying for years. I completely forgot about. Never used.
Just the domains I pay for that I never use.
Oh God, there's hundreds of those.
I just we wanted to watch the end of the World Series when we got back from Mexico. We have abused every single TV service there is, and could not get a freebie for 1 week like you can normally because we've used every single one of them already.
You've signed up for them all already.
You run into a weird problem.
No free trial for you, buddy.
I don't know if you noticed, but these things that used to be, I could be wrong, but I think YouTube TV, when it launched, was $35 a month.
Yeah, it was.
That thing's like $85 a month now.
It's a cable subscription.
What happened there?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Well, they blame the local channels. They blame the services for raising prices. I think it's 65, but then I paid an extra 20 for 4K, so that makes it 85. And then there's add-ons for a lot of, Showtime and HBO.
You bet.
Yeah.
Yep.
They get you.
You spend a lot of money.
Like You know what? We're back at cable. That's all. Instead of a wire under the ground, it's over your internet, which is probably a wire under the ground.
Absolutely. But there's still one fundamental advantage, which is you can leave at any time. I like that.
Yeah. No,
cable was kind of tough.
I'm a fan of if I do what you do, if I had several homes, I would.
Hold on a second.
But
Let me get my monocle later.
If I were in your shoes.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I won't name names. Very famous.
Okay.
Very wealthy.
Yeah.
He was upset because
This is a Steve Martin story.
Now you've spoiled it.
I can already tell.
Now you've
I'm
spoiled
sorry,
it.
go.
But I can't remember what it was, but let's say it was Office.
Yeah.
He said something like, well, it only allows me to install on 5 machines. I have 11 homes. It was something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
doing him.
Yeah,
I'm doing him a disservice.
Yeah.
But if you're wealthy enough to have multiple homes, yeah, there's problems arise.
Okay. Well, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. He outed you, not me. Not me. I don't think he listens to Windows Weekly. He's a Mac guy.
I would hope not. My God. Yeah.
He's going to call the radio show on Saturday. Just a little insight. I figure I will solve these subscription problems when I retire. Like it's too hard to do it now. And I can justify it by saying, well, it's my business. I need to cover all this stuff. I need to see every
You're also subsidizing your children, I bet, like I am.
I am.
These
Netflix
little cost centers
just sent me a note saying, there are some accounts you could take off. Little cost centers. Little cost centers.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just a word of warning. Your kids are still,
I was going to say, you think I have 2 homes. I have 4 homes. One of them my son lives in Rochester, and the other one my daughter lives in Charlotte.
You
and
have
I can
4
assure
homes.
you, these people are not paying for this.
I'm paying for their cell phones, for their Netflix subscription, the whole thing.
Same. Yep.
And it's really hard to get out of it. The call you don't want to make is, hey, honey, that cell phone I've been paying for your entire life? I'm not going to pay for it anymore. I don't want to make that call. She'll burst into tears.
I know, it's awful. She's like, but Dad,
I'm talking about my ex-wife.
I've been married. I was like, I have been married for 10 years and I have a baby coming. Is this really the right time to do this?
She's 30. My son's 28.
Yeah.
When does this end?
Yeah.
Anyway, I figure I'm going to defer it all till I'm retired, and then because I'll be on a fixed income, because Papa didn't save, I will be going through everything.
I think Papa's probably saved pretty well, but
Papa, Mama saved. Thank God, Mama saved, because Papa.
The gate has to come down.
Yeah, the gate has to come down, and then I have an excuse. I could say, well, look, I don't have any income, so I'm just canceling you all.
Right.
Oh, Paul. Sometime when we're not in public, I will tell you the whole story.
It's not a contest, but I feel like I'm going to be able to keep up.
I think you might. I think you might. What's fun is when we started doing this show many moons ago, both our kids were little.
Right.
They were at home.
That's right.
I remember you talking about going with your
5.
son on Black Friday.
That's right.
To what was it, GameStop or Target or somewhere to get the
Best Buy.
Buy.
The dumb thing about that was there was a Best Buy in Dedham, but because of some local regulation, they couldn't open at midnight. So we had to drive down to Brockton, which is like 20, 25 minutes away. And so we'd blow down the highway at midnight, like you do with your kid on a Tuesday night or whatever it was.
You're not going to school tomorrow, kid. We're going to buy Call of Duty.
Oh, no. You're going to school tomorrow, but you're going to stay up until 3 with me playing Call of Duty. He was in for it.
But I have to tell you, maybe at the time it seemed hard or exhausting. Those are the things you really cherish and remember.
Oh, my God, of course. Yes.
And I would do it in a heartbeat all over again if I could. But at the time, it's exhausting. Like,
well, I didn't have to get up, so he had to get up.
Right. He was exhausted.
He was young. He was fine.
Oh, my son.
We've been texting about the new Call of Duty. He would just text me.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
You got that. You got that something killing Nazis together.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
Good. Yeah.
It's the bonds that father and sons will always have.
My son was my travel companion because nobody else wanted to go on these geek cruises with me. And so since he was a little kid, he would go. And he asked me the other day, he said, Dad, have I ever been to China? I said, yes.
That's awesome.
Did I see the Terracotta Warriors? Let me send you a picture of you posing next to the Terracotta Warriors.
We have a running gag with my daughter, Kelly, which amounts to someone asking her, Kelly, where's the Roman Forum or the Colosseum? And she's like, and her answer to that, we came back. We used to have to go through customs and talk to a person, and the guy asked where we had been. And I started to talk and he said, I'm talking to the kid. And she was like 5 or 7 or something. And actually I could do the math on that. Yeah, she was 7, 8, something like that. And Kelly looks at me and I'm like, answer the question. And he says, where were you guys? And she goes, Europe.
I know it wasn't here.
What part of Europe? And she looks at me and I'm like, Kelly, just answer the question. She goes, Europe. And the guy said, you're American. Welcome to the United States.
Yeah. Come on in.
And she had but we had been in Rome and went to all these places. And I'm like, so now we just ask her, I'm like, Kelly, where's the Coliseum?
Europe.
Idiot.
No, I have to, and maybe this is just, rationalization, but I have to think it sinks in there somewhere and somehow it will inform their future life. Look, I spent a lot of time cooking with my son, teaching him grandma's spaghetti sauce and stuff. And never with any intent that he'd do anything but at least know how to cook one meal. And now he's like a internet famous chef. So you never know.
So I literally had a conversation with a friend from work when I was still back at Penton. We were in Colorado. I will never forget this. I had 2 amazing interactions with this guy that are just relevant to other people wanting to hear the story. But he actually said to me, he said, what do you think your kids are going to do? Like, thank you someday because you took them on all these trips?
Right.
And I was like, no, I expect them to be better people because I took them on all these trips. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That's a good way to think of it. Yeah.
No, they don't have to thank me. They just have to be better.
Right.
We did be a little more worldly. Go to places where things aren't exactly the same as where you live and experience the difference and then understand that different places are different and that different people are different and just be accepting of that.
You got your reward. You've had both Kelly and Mark to your house in Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they loved it, right? And they're travelers.
And they love to travel, and they still love to travel with us, which makes sense because we pay for it.
Both my kids, same thing. Yeah, right. Thanks, Dad.
No, but I love that they love that.
Yeah,
and,
No, both my kids, the same thing. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a little break. We'll talk about Google VPN. We've got hardware. We've got Xbox.
Actually, let's just blow.
You want to do the Google VPN? All right,
just real quick because it's like 60 seconds. So we talked about this last week. I don't know that I brought this up last week. But if you do you have a way to show the image that's at the top of this article?
I shall.
So this is amazing to me. So Google announced Google One VPN for Windows and Mac. And this is the screenshot they chose. Now this screenshot, no, actually zoom back out. Sorry. This screenshot's fake. And the reason I know it's fake is if you look at the operating system it's running on, that's the first version of Windows 10 from 2015. They didn't even get a new shot of Windows. That's the old icon style.
Look at
the old version of Edge.
Look at the Edge logo.
The Edge logo is the original Edge, like before they went to Chromium. I mean, would you trust these people to do a VPN on Windows?
Hey, at least they didn't do it as they often do, because this is an agency. This is not Microsoft or Google. It's an agency, but at least they didn't do it on a Mac, which they often do, by the way.
There's probably a Mac OS 10 1.0, picture of the same thing. Like, what? I mean, try a little bit. Like what? That's crazy how old that is.
Well, anyway, wait a minute. You don't even have to look at how old it is.
Yeah.
There's a date.
Does it have the date? Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I told you.
There's a date.
No, that's like a week. That's the week it launched, I think.
July 30th, 2015. So they used a 7-year-old.
Yep, screenshot,
and then just put their.
Yep, that's
how much
embarrassing.
Effort.
That's how much effort they put into it. Yeah, that's terrible.
I could see how you might not know. Oh, yeah, that's the old Edge icon, but it does actually have the date.
No, I looked at that. I saw those icons. I'm like, this is literally the first version of Windows 10, and there it is, 2015. That's exactly it. Yep.
I mean, you could maybe make the excuse, oh, well, we still use that old version of Windows 10, but no, the calendar, the date. It was 6:30 a.m.
First of all, that thing's been out
July
of support for like 5 years.
That's hysterical.
You can't use that. Anyway, I don't remember if this came up last week. I just wanted to make sure people saw that. It's like, you got to be kidding me. That's horrific.
They still have 5 notifications from back there.
And there's no battery life at all. What's going on in this?
Oh, the battery's dead.
That thing with the green little thing, I don't even know what that is. I have no idea. Oh, maybe that's, that's their icon. I bet that's their
VPN icon.
Yeah.
I thought it was Calvin and Hobbes fighting. I didn't know what it was.
It's crazy looking. Crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out as humor, basically.
I love it.
It's nuts, right?
Yeah. Good catch. Not every once in a while, frequently you will see, agencies who all use Macs.
An HP computer that has like a Mac screenshot.
It's very common.
Yeah. Yep.
Because all the agencies are on Macs. They're not using it.
You can blame it, but they put it on their blog post. They publish that. Like
they should
Google
notice.
Live with
Just
that.
notice.
Yeah. Just try. Try a little bit,
Believe me, we work with agencies. We know exactly who's there. It's kind of amazing. I'm going to tell you a company we work with that we love. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Thinkst, Canary, the Thinkst folks. These guys invented something totally amazing. This is a honeypot. In my hand, I'm holding something that looks, like an external hard drive, basically. It's a black thing with a green light, has an internet, Ethernet cable connection and a power cable, and that's it. That's it. No user serviceable parts. But this thing is the best security device ever. See, we all, security is we say it all the time. It's, it's a matter of layers. There's no one perfect solution. You do a variety of things to protect yourself. I think a lot of people have perimeter security. They figure, well, we wall the castle off. We built a very nice moat, so we don't have to worry about anybody inside the network. Wrong. Wrong. Bad guys these days go right around your perimeter security with phishing scams, with spear phishing, with targeted attacks on your employees. They open the email, click the link. It's a PDF from the boss. No, it's not. And now the bad guy's in. Problem is, you may not know. You probably don't. And if you have that security posture that, well, we've perfected the perimeter protection, we don't have to worry about anybody getting in, you're in deep trouble. It's probably why, on average, it takes 191 days for a company to realize there's been a data breach. 6 months plus. And what happens, these bad guys, they get on your network, they look at everything, they try to exfiltrate data. Maybe they're there for a ransomware attack. They don't trigger it right away. They get all the data out first so they can blackmail you if the ransomware doesn't work. And then they also look at where you're backing everything up. They look at everything so that the attack is more effective. That's what these things stop. This little black box is a Thinkst Canary, like a canary in a coal mine. It doesn't look like a security device to the bad guys. It looks like something else. It can look like a variety of things, a SCADA device, a Windows server, a Linux server. It can look like, this one is set up to look like a Synology NAS. And when you set it up to look like that, it's very easy to do that. You do that from the web interface, and you could choose if drop downs for all this stuff. You could say what version and all that. It does it perfectly. For instance, this Synology NAS has a Synology MAC address. It's not some random MAC address. It's a Synology MAC address. It has the exact login that they would see for DSM-7, and the bad guy doesn't know. He's even if he's very cautious. Yeah, wow, that's a Synology. He tries to log in, and now you get an alert. And that's what's so cool about these. No false alarms, just alerts when the worst thing has happened. Somebody is prowling your network. They can be deployed throughout your network. You can make them look identical to a router, a switch, a NAS server, a Linux box, a Windows server. You can put fake files on them. You can enroll them in Active Directory. Might as well, right? Hey, guys, here's what you should break into. Put it in Active Directory, because it would be, wouldn't it, in the business? You can also create Canary tokens with these things, which are little files. They could be PDFs, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, whatever you want. Spread them around the network, and whenever anybody tries to open them, they phone home, and you get the alert. So, for instance, I'm not saying I do, have an XLS file that says payroll information on a file server somewhere, right? Hacker sees that, they're going to open that, and you're going to know. They can be installed and configured in minutes. You don't have to think about them again. I just leave it here, sitting here on the network. As long as that green light's on, I can see it. I know it's watching. When an alert happens, it'll happen because somebody bad has gotten into your network, and you will get alerts in the way you prefer, any way you want them, basically. Email, text message. You're going to get a console with your canaries. It works with Slack. They support webhooks, which means it'll work with almost anything. They even have an API, so you can write your own code if you want, a little Python script that, whatever. It works with syslog. I know a lot of sysadmins keep an eye on their syslog. So this is a great way to know that you're secure. Nobody's in the network, and you need these. Now, many banks would have hundreds spread out all over the place. A smaller business like ours might just have a handful of them. You get 5 of them, right? Put them around the business, 5 of them, hide them in all the places. $7,500 a year. But for that, you get the Canaries, you get your own hosted console. All the upgrades are free. Support is free. Maintenance. And if you use the code TWiT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, and this is really generous, you're going to get 10% off for life, forever. So please do use the offer code TWiT in the How Did You Hear About Us box at canary.tools/twit. This is such a good idea. Everybody should have something like this because, perimeter defense is one thing, but you need to know if somebody has gotten through. And by the way, I love this. We know you're going to love your Thinkst Canary, but if you're not happy, you can always return it with a 2-month money-back guarantee, full refund for 2 months, 60 days, plenty of time. But you know what? If you've done a good job with security, you may not hear from your Canary. That's good. You only want to hear from it when somebody bad is in the network. You could test it, see what happens. Canary.tools/twit. That's the website. Canary, CANARY.tools/twit. Offer code is TWIT for 10% off. Just put that in the How Did You Hear About Us box. This is something, a must-have for anybody. If you've got a network, you need a Canary. Canary.tools/twit. Okay, let's see. On we go with the show. We've come to the hardware section.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Microsoft has released a special edition version of Surface Pro 9, which is called Liberty Special Edition, which I got momentarily excited about.
Is it an American flag?
No, there's apparently a British design company called Liberty, which designed kind of a little too literal version of the bloom effect you see in the Windows 11 wallpaper engraved into the material of the tablet. It's blue.
Oh, we talked about this when they announced that. It's a designer. I remember we talked about this.
I don't remember this.
They talked about it. It's weird looking.
Yeah.
It's like got a pattern on it, right?
What's that guy, that singer who has tattoos all over his face?
Yeah, it's like that guy.
It looks like him. I don't know what's going on here. It's a little busy for my taste.
Yeah.
But if you like blue stuff,
No, they mentioned this. Panos talked about this in the event. Yeah, it's. All
right.
What is his name now you got me.
I don't know.
I know it's right on the tip of my tongue.
It's the type of thing Johnny Ive would do, but he doesn't work with Microsoft. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me, but it might appeal to you. I don't know. I don't mind.
You know what? It's not
color versions of things.
It's not a beige box.
It's not. That's true. That's true.
You gotta say that.
And the laser engraving probably makes it 2% faster. So
it's got laser. Post Malone. Thank you.
Post Malone. Thank you. Yes,
or Machine Gun Kelly. You get your choice. Apparently, there's
Post Malone is what I meant. So Qualcomm is hosting their Snapdragon Summit this week, and yesterday, I think it was last night, maybe they announced the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip. This is for smartphones. Now, we're waiting for the next version chipset for Windows, of course. Normally, I would have expected that announcement to happen today, and it still might. It's still early, I guess. But now I'm actually starting to wonder if they're not going to hold off because Qualcomm, and I think it might have been the CEO, Cristiano, I forgot his last name again. I keep forgetting his name. Amon, announced that 2024 is going to be the year for this. This is the year where they finally catch up. So they have to announce something. I mean, they have to do something between now and, then, but we don't have that yet. But we did a little peek at what's going on with Windows and ARM when they announced that Adobe Fresco and Adobe Acrobat are going to run natively on Windows and ARM PC starting in 2023. So, it's kind of dribbling in that direction, I guess. We'll get there. So there's that.
Didn't one of them have a Samsung exclusive, or am I misremembering that? I feel like Samsung got an exclusive on one of these chips.
Oh, that could be. I didn't pay attention.
Samsung normally it uses Qualcomm in the U.S. and Exynos everywhere
right.
else, and maybe they were.
But no,
maybe they
are going all
Qualcomm.
They are going all Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, as they should really. I mean, I've never quite understood that, but.
So Apple used to make its A series chips, not just SMC, but also Samsung.
Also Samsung. That's right.
And Samsung lost that business. It seems odd that they would just kind of give up on that business, but
I think they couldn't keep up.
Maybe that's it. They just didn't.
I think the smaller nanometer process is just something that one company's been able to do. Like even Intel has said we're going to use them. It's just the way it is.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Warren Buffett just bought a $4.2 billion stake in TSMC, and
right. Well, they're coming to the U.S. Right.
That's right. You knew what the and was. Apple has said we will. Tim Cook says as soon as they open that plant, which is not for a couple of years, that's where we're getting our chips. Nobody wants to be completely dependent on Taiwan because,
that's right.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, hopefully they'll also build the phones here or whatever, but we'll see how that goes. Apple hasn't had a lot of success in recent years trying to make that kind of thing happen, but you know what? There's some incentive now not to have everything built in China, so anything could happen.
They're building them in Brazil and India and Vietnam.
Yep, that's right.
So, I mean, you got to diversify. I don't care. Well, who makes, do you know who makes the Surface stuff? It's probably
the chips. I mean, it's all Intel. So, I mean,
no, the machines.
Oh, who makes them? Oh, yeah. No, it's China. Yeah, it's in China.
Pegatron or somebody in China.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually, what's the big one in China? The one that Apple uses?
Quantum.
No. Well,
Pegatron's one, Quantum's another.
Foxtron.
Oh, Foxtron.
Foxconn.
Oh, Foxconn. Yeah,
Foxconn. Yeah, I think it's Foxconn.
Foxtron.
Foxtron, company of the future. That's right. Everything is plastic.
There's Pegatron. There's Quantum, which I think is in Taiwan, and there's no. Quantum's in China, and there's Foxconn.
I think it's Foxconn.
Yeah, Foxconn's building a plant in the U.S. as well.
Yeah. Yep. Smart.
Yeah.
All right. So for the second time in 3 weeks, we have an enormous Xbox section. This is completely coincidental, but it's it's
sure, Paul.
So, without that meddling Mary Jo, I can finally spend the time it deserves. No.
Let's give it all the time it deserves. Absolutely.
So Phil Spencer has come out for what I believe is the 117th time and said, guys,
he's adamant.
We're not going to take Call of Duty off of the PlayStation.
He is adamant.
We can't make a contract that says forever, but we will always put it on the PlayStation. I promise. So I do think this is the sticking point for regulators, the UK and the EU. It's confusing to me. That nobody seems to understand this. It doesn't make any sense for them not to do this. The other thing Spencer said, I don't know if it was in the same podcast, but he said, guys, the point of this acquisition for us is not Call of Duty. We want the mobile stuff. Like we want mobile. We don't have a mobile story. I mean, they do sort of, but they don't have a very good mobile story. So, Activision Blizzard owns a lot of good mobile assets. And that's really what this is about. But anywho. Yeah, but please, let's keep arguing about Call of Duty, which we will never take off of the PlayStation. I don't know if you saw this story. I didn't write about this, but there was a guy who works for the European Commission who tweeted about this and said the problem is we want to make sure that the Call of Duty series stays on my PlayStation. This guy doesn't work for the part of that organization that does antitrust and has nothing to do with this case. He did used to work for the competition commissioner in the EU. It's unclear why he tweeted what he tweeted because
I'll tell you,
looked like it.
He's getting calls from Samsung. Sony. Sony's calling.
But he's not. No, that's like saying I'm trying to inject change at Microsoft. I'm going to call their help center and get one of those guys to tweet something about official policy at Microsoft. He has nothing to do with this.
That's what we love about Twitter. Doesn't matter.
But of course, the EU has had to come out and be like, well, the guy's Twitter account makes it clear he's just tweeting his own opinions. And it's like, no, he made it look like it was an official stance.
That's hysterical.
Why did he say my place? What is that? What, anyway, it introduced the specter of bias. And so that was dumb on his part, but I don't feel like the EU handled that very well either, but whatever. Anyway, guys, PlayStation will always be on a PlayStation. Call of Duty will always be on the PlayStation. So I don't know that we have to worry about that. Anywho,
until it's not.
Microsoft,
I mean, honestly.
I would take it away immediately if it was up to me, but whatever. They're not going to do that. No, I mean, that's a huge market. By the way, the PlayStation 5 outsold the Xbox Series X and S, which it doesn't actually do usually in the United States in October because of the launch of Call of Duty, right? That game made $1 billion in 10 days or something. It was some crazy amount of money. The 15th year in a row that Call of Duty was the best-selling game in October.
Yeah.
That's how big, there aren't many Hollywood movies that make more money than this game or these games, and none of them do it in the short number of days that Call of Duty does it. I mean, it's like the biggest thing. Anyway, they're not taking it out. They're not going to get rid of that.
This is a classic carrot and stick. You've got the carrot of revenue and the stick of regulation. They're not. Yeah. It'd be crazy to do anything.
I don't understand the debate here. It's so easy for Microsoft and whatever regulator to come to a formal agreement. Yeah, we're going to keep doing this. Just put it on paper. We're never going to stop making this game on PlayStation. He has literally said, as long as there's something called PlayStation, there will be something called Call of Duty that runs on it. We will never stop doing that. I don't know. I don't understand why people are freaking over this. In fact, I don't think anyone is freaking over this, except for the guy who was the president of PlayStation. Like, he seems to be the one guy that seems upset about this. Anyhow, moving on, because we're going to talk about Call of Duty a little bit more soon. Microsoft released its first ever Xbox transparency report. This one had nothing to do with Bill Gates. The idea here is that they're trying to make the Xbox network safe for players, which is kind of hilarious because I play on this thing every single day. And man, toxicity is a huge problem. It's a huge problem in the new Call of Duty, and the new Call of Duty has an anti-toxicity thing.
Were you amazed by the number of accounts that they've suspended or canceled?
Yeah.
It was like 24 million.
Yeah. So when I first read that, I thought to myself, what are these things? Like, are these people behaving badly? Or, actually, it turns out most of them are, there are some cheating accounts. There are just some accounts that just aren't even active, kind of a thing. There are bot created accounts, which I think is over half of all of what they are. I mean, I report people to Xbox Live regularly. Now that the new Call of Duty has its own built-in toxicity interface, anti-toxicity, I should say. I've reported.
What does that
directly.
Look like? Is it just a report button kind of, or? Yeah.
So you bring up a list of the players, you hit Y, it then brings up another list of the players, and you can select them and then report them and explain why. So the things I've reported this is actually kind of stupid. So if you think about most Call of Duty games over history for me, I play them on Xbox Live, right? So the people I'm playing against are Xbox players. And so I report to Microsoft because they're all on Xbox. And maybe they have maybe they're spewing awful things on voice chat. Maybe they have terrible screen names that never should have been allowed by Microsoft, but were, whatever it is. The problem now is Call of Duty is crossplay, right? So when I play the latest Call of Duty game, I'm playing against people on PS5 and against people on PC, and they have to have controllers, to play in the game with me. But that means that Activision had to create like a screen name system that's specific to Call of Duty. So everyone got to take names against, kind of like Twitter. Like, I played against Elvis Presley. I played against, presidents. I played against, famous, whatever it is.
That's cute, actually.
It's cute, but some of these names aren't great. So some of them are funny, some of them are whatever, but some of them are just terrible. And so, you report them. And now I'm reporting to Activision Blizzard because now they're in the system that spans multiple consoles or whatever.
Oh, I get it. I see.
Toxicity is always going to be a problem when you're in a game where you are shooting people, and you know what I mean? Like, it's an action,
it's violent game. Because ever since Gamergate, I've always had the impression that gamers are the worst. I consider myself a gamer. You're a gamer. We like playing games, but It seems to attract the worst elements of society.
So one of the first things I do, I did figure out how to do this in the new Call of Duty is I just mute everybody. I don't play games where I need to communicate with the people who are on my team, because one of the ironic or crazy things about Call of Duty, when you think about a game that is called team deathmatch, is there's no team going on here. My goal is to outplay the people on my team as well as kill the people on the other team, and we're all doing the same thing, working against each other. And so there's awful behavior that can happen, and I absolutely engage in it. Not because I'm like a toxic idiot, but because a lot of it is retaliatory against people who are themselves toxic or whatever it is. It's just, there's no avoiding it. It's awful. It's just awful behavior. It's awful people being awful with some form of anonymity. But there's no way to know if any of this stuff has any effect. I actually have very specific examples from people on Xbox. There are people who somehow have come back and figured out, like, I was probably the person. There's one guy who's had to change his name like multiple times because of me. And what is his name? It's I think it's like Anonymous Gamer, 781 or some crazy thing. Yeah. Because he can't pick a name that isn't offensive. So I think
just completely unable.
Yeah, they just gave up. Yeah, at least 3 times he came up. I was like, no.
That's pretty funny.
And yeah, I can tell he thinks it's me because I'm mute. I mute. You're like, how do I know? I think it's because of the way he like teabags me and shoots my corpse when I'm dead. I think he just knows it's me. I can think.
Not a fan. 3729.
Yeah, whoever he is. Yeah, it's okay. Anyway, I am happy with any anti-toxicity, whatever's they want to do. That's good. Okay. Moving on. So it's the second half of the month, and that means we're getting a new round of Xbox Game Pass games. The big one, maybe, I actually had the chance to review this, and I looked at it. Now, it really wasn't my thing, but there's a game called Pentiment that just came out. This is on cloud, console, and PC. This is kind of a hard thing to describe, but it's sort of a sideways graphic. Remember that World War I game with the little guys running around, and you could they were dirigible. It kind of has that feel. It's almost like it was made of paper. Huh. It's like a medieval game. I don't know. That's cool. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, it's not my thing, but it looks cool. There's
a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old-fashioned, physical game, Pentamentos or something, where you.
Oh, you think it maybe is the inspiration?
Yeah.
Well, that could be.
But there's people in this running around, so it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's just a pure geographic thing. Not geographic, geometric.
Pentiment is I like the name. It sounds like it means something, and I'm just not privy to what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it looks cool. It's just something.
Is the presence or emergence of earlier images, forms, or strokes that have been changed or painted over. It's when you have a painting and you find underneath it, the original is a pentimento.
Oh, okay. That happens a lot, actually.
It does, because it comes from the Italian for repentance. Yeah. I repent.
Was the surface they painted on really expensive during the?
It was.
No, I'm painting.
It was.
I think I'm gonna paint over it.
It was. They would reuse canvases. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
Or they'd look at it and they'd go, yeah. I want to just change this thing.
This isn't, maybe it isn't this. There's also, one of the things that happens on Xbox Cloud Gaming is they're adding touch controls, right? So if you're playing on a smartphone or tablet, you don't have to have a controller. And actually, now you can play Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins through Xbox Cloud Gaming using just your touch controls on your phone. That's kind of cool.
I think this is called Pentiment because it's medieval for that reason.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So not necessarily related, but similar.
It's kind of a cool looking game. I like this. I would play.
Yeah, it is a cool looking game. Yeah. I just don't. Yeah. To me, it's like, are there Nazis I can shoot? Or
it's World of Warcraft as if painted by Rembrandt or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There you go. Repainted. By.
It's medieval. It's not even Rembrandt. It's pre-Rembrandt, you know.
But it has that look of like as if it were made with paper.
Yeah,
you know, and they're animating it. Yeah, I like that. I do. I like
it's really kind of interesting. So that's Pentiment.
Yeah, it's kind of old-fashioned looking.
And is that free or is that just cheap?
It's on Xbox Game Pass. So if you're paying for the subscription, you get it. Yeah.
It's a it was.
I think it's on everything.
It was in the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase, which we did not do this year.
Right. Well, after that disaster from a couple of years ago, why would you?
We learned.
Why would you even look at that again?
Learned our lesson.
I can't trust you. So the Xbox Series, I don't have this in the notes, but I believe the Xbox Series S is $50 off right now, meaning it's $249, which is an incredible deal. But there's also a new bundle that's launching on the 29th, so in about 2 weeks, which is called the Gilded Hunter Bundle. So this is going to be the normal $299 price for Xbox Series S, but it comes with, because saying it comes with the games doesn't mean anything because these games are all free, but it comes with digital assets for Fortnite, Fall Guys, and Rocket League.
Oh, neat.
Right.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So you get like, hunter outfits and weapons and points, or whatever they call it, V-Bucks or show, but whatever the name is. Different games have different names for these kinds of things. And that will be available as long as it lasts. It's one of those things you can pre-order it now if you wanted to do that. You can buy it with Xbox All Access for some of my, I think it's probably $25 a month, if I remember correctly, something like that, where you pay for it over a couple of years. And this actually, if you're in Xbox Game Pass, you get this, but Microsoft Flight Simulator just released the 40th anniversary edition, which is free to anyone who has the game, however you get it. And that adds a bunch of, airports and planes and all that stuff. But the first version of the game ever, I believe in its entire history, to include helicopters and gliders.
Oh, neat.
As well as heliports, and I guess they're called glider airports. So there are 14 heliports, 15 glider airports, 24 classic missions from the past, et cetera, et cetera. So this is available.
That would be fun.
Yeah, however you get this thing, it's available for everybody.
Neat.
Yeah, and then this is actually a bigger deal than I thought it was originally. Every month, Microsoft release, well, not every month, but almost every month, there's like an Xbox monthly update, right? So the November update is out, and actually there's a lot of stuff here, as I need to go kind of look at this. So Discord integration has been available in the Xbox for a while. That has been improved. There's some new voice features, like the noise suppression feature is activated now. So if you're using Discord, it will block out background noise, just like barking dogs and whatever. It supports, I got to go through this list because this is really big, but at the bottom somewhere, supports live streaming, not just from Twitch, but from Lightstream and Streamlabs Studio directly from the console. I have never heard of either of those things, but different ways to do live streams. That's kind of cool.
You know what's not there? Mixer.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. You know what's not anywhere?
Mixer.
Yeah. There's some Microsoft Store stuff around notifications about sales and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. There's a new Captures app, and this is for not just capture capabilities are built in. In fact, they're on the hand controller now, so you can take screenshots and video clips. But this app will allow you to view, manage, and then edit your game captures as well.
Nice,
which is cool. They haven't implemented that power option thing I was talking about. This is something Microsoft is kind of taking a poll of the user base, but they're kind of moving toward it. So the start is if you go into power settings, power options and settings, you'll see new language around the different modes. So remember, we had like energy saving mode and sleep mode and whatever. So they've kind of renamed these things to make it more obvious what's what. Because when you buy a console now, in sharp contrast to when, say, you did like a year or two ago, it actually defaults to energy saving mode, which is now called shutdown mode. So that when when it goes to sleep, it actually shuts down. So every time you turn it on, it boots up. And the idea there is it's not sitting on with some low power capacity sucking energy. They're trying to, save energy by default, but you can set it back if you want it the other way, which I would. So the final thing, and this is really cool. I almost talked about this with the Game Pass cloud gaming thing. They're adding controller rumble support for Xbox Cloud gaming games. These are the game streaming games on PC and Mac. So I didn't know that wasn't available. So obviously if you're playing, or maybe not obviously, but I play on a console. So as I get shot or whatever happens, the controller rumbles in my hand. They're adding that to cloud gaming. Finally, I didn't realize that wasn't there. So if you use Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome or Samsung TV support that, this stuff is coming soon. That's kind of cool too. So That's most of it. There's actually more. There's actually a lot more. There's like settings recommendations. It will look at your TV and say, hey, you support 4K. Why don't you turn on 4K? That kind of thing. Or you can enable HDMI CEC to control your TV power and volume along with the console, yada, yada, yada. So there's a lot of capabilities that your console/TV may have that you don't know about. They're going to start surfacing that stuff so that you can have the optimal setup. So that's smart.
Nice. By the way,
yes.
one more thing in Flight Sim that Out of Sync is reminding, because I've seen screenshots. I really want to download this. You could fly Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Giant.
That was the largest
airplane.
Wooden plane, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It never flew commercially. It was huge. Yeah.
Right.
I saw a picture and I thought, that's a real reason to download this.
And that's not. Great. Is that around somewhere? Is that?
Yeah, it used to be. It's floating somewhere because it was a seaplane, because no airport, you could land at an airport. Right. It used to be around somewhere. I don't know. Is this? I'll have to Google.
It must be a museum or something.
Yeah, you'd think. But on the other hand, it's wood. So
sure.
How well would it wear, right?
Right. Well, if you want it to if you want it to last, just throw it at the bottom of the ocean and go get it again in 40 years. It'll be fine.
It's in the Evergreen Museum. Which
is where?
Which is the Evergreen Space Museum, Aviation and Space Museum. 75 years old. It's in McMinnville, Oregon. John's been there. Jammer B says, "Oh yeah, it's beautiful."
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, McMinnville, Oregon. Who would have thought there's an aviation and space museum in
Oregon.
whatever.
Sure.
McMinnville, Oregon. But
probably where all the trees came from.
Yeah. They have a new exhibit. It's an interactive exhibit, the 75th anniversary of this ridiculous, the largest wooden airplane ever built in beautiful McMinnville. It flew from Long Beach, where it was left by Howard.
Yep.
All the way up to McMinnville, and now that's worth a trip. Worth a trip to McMinnville.
So this thing is essentially the largest balsa wood plane ever.
Yes. I think it's spruce.
He's like a giant rubber band.
It's got rubber band
into the air.
Motors. 75 years old. And as far as I know, it never 320-foot wingspan, 218 feet long, 79 feet high.
What was the point of it? I mean, why even make this thing?
Military transport.
Well,
you put a lot of troops in there.
Well,
yeah. Big old thing. Look at the size of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy. You know what? I'm going to McMinnville. Why don't we do a road trip, Paul? Let's head to McMinnville.
Planes. I do like planes.
Yeah.
You got to go to Arizona. Have you been to the plane graveyard thing?
No, I've heard about it, though, where all the old 737s and 727s are. And yeah, I've heard about it. John, is it worth the trip? Is it good? You like it? Is there lots of stuff to see at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum? He said it'll fill a day, and that's really all I'm looking for.
So will that name. There's one too many N's in McMinnville.
Yeah, I'm really into this stuff. So I think that sounds cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. All right. Look at that. It's a big hangar with all sorts of planes in there.
Well, yes, as it would be.
As one would expect. Well, I've been to the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum in Washington. It's at Dulles Airport, and that's incredible. I mean, they've got a space shuttle in there. They've got the stealth bomber. I mean, they have all sorts of stuff. So
you've been to the Air and Space Museum, right, in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. This is like the Udvar Hazy is like the
a billion times bigger. Yeah,
it's the continuation of it because
right.
Yeah, we did with Screensavers.
There's only so much space.
Screensavers did a show from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. Good. How far away is McMinnville, John? Is it hours? It's not a day trip. I think we're gonna have to spend the night.
Yeah. You might have to fly there.
Hours southwest of Portland.
Ironically, you cannot fly to McMinnville. It's one
you
of the
can't fly
things.
there. No, you have to drive there.
Kind of doesn't make sense. You think they would have a runway?
Looks like it's got Air Force One, an old Air Force One there.
Oh wow,
very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
cool.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the show.
No, that's fine. No,
you got me all excited.
I skipped right over it by mistake.
The Spruce Goose.
Last week, I mentioned the CliffyB book, which was his history of writing video games or creating video games at Epic.
Oh, yeah.
He played a role in Unreal and the Unreal Tournament games, and then he created Gears of War, which was like, kind of his biggest thing ever. And it's so since then, I finished the book. Just two things I wanted to say was, after he left Epic, which he left after he asked for a massive raise and was refused, he had not enough money to retire. He's rich. And he took a couple of years off. And the thing I was 100% familiar with his entire story up until Gears of War ended. Gears of War was sold by Epic to Microsoft. Epic went on to create a different game franchise, I think, for Sony, which kind of upset Microsoft or whatever, but he wasn't part of that. He dropped off the radar, and I had no idea what he had done after that. So as that part of the book entered in, I thought, well, surely I'm going to have heard of this. And I got to tell you, the end of this guy's thing is like, nope. He created a company called Boss Key. They created a game called Lawbreakers that failed immediately. And then they tried to create a game that was like a Fortnite Battle Royale, whatever, and it just failed. And now he's in theater production, which is kind of weird, but isn't that how Scott Forstall ended up as well? Didn't he go to the theater after? I think he did.
Yeah. It's home
anyway, the book's
to many a lost technologist.
Right? I mean, it's there's some crossover there that I'm not familiar with. But anyway, yeah.
Well, if you got plenty of money, do something you love. Showbiz.
There you go. But I got to say, I meant to tell you that, so when I mentioned this book last week, you immediately blurted out something that was not only correct, but it was literally part of the book, which was we were talking about Unreal Tournament and how it was fast action, and they had a term for it that I'm not going to get right, but it was like bright lights, fast action.
Right.
And it was all about colored lighting at the time.
That's right.
And what you said was, this is so perceptive. This is why I hope people appreciate how amazing you are like this. You literally said, just off the top of your head, you're like, oh, Gears of War is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's exactly the...
Well, I remembered that because I remember very viscerally the first ads for Gears of War, and I was thinking...
Yeah, bum, 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 bum,
and it's so dark.
It's slow and sad. And
it's so different. And so it stuck in my brain that was what they were doing. So he talks about
Originally, it was going to be very much like the Unreal Tournament games, but there was a game called, I think it was called Kill Streak, or something like Kill Zone, Kill Streak, something like that, which was, it was a side scroller, nothing like Gears of War, but it had this notion of cover. And he thought, he's like, that's realistic. Like you don't just go out with a bazooka and blow stuff up and, move at the speed of sound. Like it's, real war is hard and it's grueling and it's gritty and it's realistic. And he wanted it to be like Band of Brothers and, blown out Europe at the end of World War II. And anyway, he explains this in great detail, and you were like, this is what this is. And I was like, Mike, you don't have to read the book because that's exactly.
But you knew too. You remembered how gritty,
oh my God, yes.
Gritty Gears of War was. Yeah.
Yep.
It really looked
I actually kind of want to go. I want to go replay it.
I kind of do too.
I have played the first one many times. It's sort of like the first two Halos, actually first three Halos. I've played that one a lot, and they redid it. They remastered it. They added a level with that Brumac thing at some point, the Godzilla type monster. Anyway, it's a great book. I know we talked about it last week, but it was
the first game I got for the Xbox 360, as I remember.
Yeah, actually, it was one of the big launch titles. Yeah. Basically, it was I think it was the marquee. Yeah, it was great.
I could still see the little CD cover.
yeah, absolutely.
That's back when you bought games. At GameStop, they would come in a box.
That's right. Yep.
Now you can still buy the box, but the game really is online. There's no
you can buy anything you want, but you're still going to be downloading 250 gigabytes.
Exactly.
So you can, feel free to buy the plastic, but you're going to download. It's just the way it is. Yeah. Anyway, great book. So I finished that, and now I have nothing to listen to, and I'm hollow inside.
I will add that to my list. I get new books in 5 days. I will add that to my list.
So today is the biggest day of the year because Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which by the way is Roman numeral 2, not number 2. Everyone gets that wrong. It's making me crazy. Is now in season 1, and season 1 brings Warzone, the new version of Warzone, which I don't care about as much. But for me, it brings the hardcore playlist, which is now called something else. I forgot the name of it already. It brings your progression, so you can see how you're doing on the KD ratio. I checked it, and I was literally even. I had an even number of deaths and kills and deaths. I want to be above 1, obviously, but I've been forced to play the non-hardcore mode, which is very hard for me because people don't just die instantly; they die very slowly. And I prefer the hardcore mode, which is it's called Tier 1, if I'm not mistaken. So this is big. I woke up this morning. I thought I knew this was supposed to happen later in the day, but I checked it. It was there. I checked my progression. I've already prestiged, by the way. I would have prestiged weeks ago, but they didn't let you do that until now. But now you can. So I've prestiged. I was stuck on level 55 for probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it was.
What's your favorite map?
So actually, well, I don't know the names of the maps. I'll see. I'll tell you if it comes up here because I recognize.
This is the trailer I'm running here.
Yeah, so this is probably Warzone, but Warzone is a collection of the maps that are in multiplayer, right? So as they're driving around, you're like, oh, I know that place. You're like, oh, I know that place,
Right, I've been there.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Is this a battle royale? Because it looked like everybody was jumping out of the plane together. So it is.
Warzone is battle royale, yeah. So I was just thinking that might be the map. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the maps.
I distracted him. Kids.
I'm watching the game. I'm watching the video. So there are 2 new multiplayer maps, and one of them is called, I think it's called Kill House, which is a classic map from the past. That map is awesome. I will say overall, the maps are actually pretty great. There's a couple I don't like. There's one that takes place in kind of the center of a racetrack. It's like I don't know, it's just a race. I don't know. It doesn't do much for me. And there's also kind of a controversial one where it's like the bridge between Mexico and the United States, and all the cars are jammed up there.
Oh yeah,
and you fight on the bridge, and it's just people lobbing grenades and cars blowing up, and lots of people die. You know, it's a little tedious, but I don't know. I've had some good games on that one.
So you play exclusively multiplayer, pretty much. I mean,
yeah, hardcore multiplayer, team deathmatch. Yeah. Which is now called something else, but it's what is it called? I think it's called Tier 1. Is that the right name? I don't know why they don't just call it hardcore. I will say the new hardcore, whatever they call it, is more hardcore than before. What makes a game hardcore is they get, well, first of all, you die very easily. They get rid of a lot of the HUD stuff, so you don't have a lot of information about when you have perks and power-ups.
Yeah.
But they've actually gone even further in this game. You don't see the names of anybody. So if you get killed by somebody or you kill somebody, whether he's on your team, which you can do right by mistake, or on the other team, you don't actually ever see who it is. And it's like, this is what my son and I were texting about today, because he's like, have you tried out this new hardcore thing? I'm like, I don't understand. He's like, right. He's like, they don't tell you who anyone is. And I know, I'm like, I've never seen that before. That's unusual. So we'll see how people, adapt to it, or if they fix it. They might actually fix it. We'll see. But there's a bunch of new stuff that happened in season 1 that I will never bother with, because right now all I care about is I get finally to play hardcore. My life is complete. Does this thing does it say the name of the new maps? I think one is Kill House.
They show 2 new maps. I don't know if it's the only new maps, but
no, yeah, there's only 2 right now.
Okay,
2 new ones.
They just showed them somewhere, and I saw them.
Yeah, where are they?
They're
good. They're both good. They're both classics. One of them is the actually it's not out yet. So the second one's not out yet. The other one is that container boat from the original Modern Warfare 2, which it takes place in the rain at night, and that's an awesome map. That's coming out before the end of the month. But the Kill House, Kill Zone, whatever the hell it's called, is available now, and it's fantastic.
I can't even use the website, so I'm definitely not playing the game. That's for sure.
There you go. I don't I've said this before about Call of Duty, but someone this year saying, I've heard this Call of Duty thing's pretty big. I think I'm going to start playing multiplayer. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're going to be doing that.
Mercado Las Almas and Farm 18.
Actually, Farm 18 is my favorite map. That's the one I like the most. Those aren't new to now. Those are already there. But those are both good maps. Most of the maps are great. That's a big deal. You got to get everything right. It's the weapons, the kill streaks, the perks, the maps, the lag and latency stuff, the quality of the graphics. It's kind of
hard to imagine the amount of work that goes into something like this. I mean,
yep. No, it's like making a movie.
or more.
And we're gonna be with this game for years. You know, like there's not a new Call of Duty coming next year. There's just going to be new content. So they had to get this one right. And I mean, they're a thing. I mean, I obviously complain about anything, but you know, by and large, they got it right. And now that it's like Windows 11 22H2, right? It was a release, and then a few weeks later they released more.
It's nothing like that.
It's kind of like that.
Do you have to pick one of these guys to be? Soap,
you
Gas, Ghost,
look. I don't.
John or Alejandro?
Yeah, I don't look at any of that stuff. I don't care about what I look like.
Just give me a gun and put me on the map.
I'm probably just the guy in his like tidy whities running around, you know, with no armor on at all. I don't know.
You can do that in what's that really hard game that came out that I've intentionally blacked out because I don't ever want to look at it again. You can choose, you choose all the different character classes, all the different clothing, and there's one guy, basically he's wearing a diaper, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's it.
Yep.
That's all I need.
Yeah. I just need to. What I want to look like is like Bozo the clown.
Yeah.
And just run around.
It's more scary that way.
A honking sound when I'm behind someone.
Exactly.
Like, what's that? You know.
Exactly. That's truly terrifying. Then you're really scary.
There you go.
Wow. See, Mary Jo would never have let us do this segment. I could tell you that right now.
I know.
This is the all new Windows Weekly, baby.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
She would have been so revolted.
It is completely random how much stuff there's been. I can't explain it.
I love the game and stuff. All right, we're going to take a little break, and then we do have the back of the book and Paul's tip and app picked of the week. And actually, I really want to ask you about the second one because I'm very intrigued. But before we do that, let me tell you about Memo monitors and their new wonderful piece of software called Unify Meeting. And I say wonderful because it's made for people like me. And maybe you too. Nowadays, we're doing a lot of meetings. If you're lucky, you're only using, one program, Teams or Zoom or Google Meet, and you don't have to, for me, everybody uses something different. And there's a problem because the user interface is different on all of them. For instance, we use Google Meet for our staff meetings, and I invariably join the meeting and hang up because on Google Meet, the unmute button is actually the hang up button, and on Zoom it's where I'm used to Zoom saying the unmute button, and I click that and it hangs up. So they know when we do a staff meeting, Leo's going to join, he's going to disappear, and then he's going to come back and say, "Whoops, I hit the wrong button." Invariably, Unify Meeting solves this. It's awesome whether you're working in the office or hybrid or remote. We all have meetings now we got to go to. It simplifies your work life by taking those favorite video conferencing software solutions and putting them in one universal user interface. So the button's in the same place every time, no matter what you're using. Unify Meeting. The name says it, right? It's reliable every time because the buttons, the commands are always in the same place for Zoom, Teams, or Meet. Wherever you're working from, Unify will keep your video conferencing simple and intuitive. You can navigate between all your meetings easily. You don't have to keep track of who's using what. It just opens the right way. Unify Meeting, you could keep it open on your desktop. And then if you're not in a meeting, it's your calendar with your upcoming stuff, including your meetings, right? And you say, it's time for a meeting. You click the calendar and it opens the appropriate program, so you don't even have to know that, and it opens the Unify Meeting interface. So it's so easy. You know what's even better? If you've got a Memo monitor, a second display or a third display. Memo monitors, they make monitors 7 inches and bigger. But perfect would be a little 7-inch Memo monitor. You plug it in via the USB port to your computer, and Unify Meeting lives on that. So now you've got a little calendar display that's always there. Convenient, small, out of the way. You click on it when it's time for the meeting. There's your conference call. And as an added benefit, on the big screen, the PC screen, the actual program, Zoom, Teams, or Meet that you're using will show up. So you have access, kind of the best of both worlds. The Unify Meeting interface on the Memo monitor, and on the big screen, the interface, for that program. So if you really need to dig into the preferences or whatever, you could do that. It's such a great way to do meetings. We're all doing a lot of meetings these days. This is the solution to make your life a lot easier. When you take advantage of Memo's Black Friday Cyber Monday deal, which it's not on yet. It starts November 24th through the 28th. So maybe you want to wait on this. Don't forget, though, you'll get 50% off a Unify license. And I love this. They're going to donate 100% of the proceeds to the American Cancer Society. That's great. So you'll be doing good. You'll save money. After that discount, it's only $20 for the whole year for a Unify meeting. Now, honestly, my preferred solution is to buy a Memo monitor. If you buy a Memo monitor, you get a Unify meeting for free with it. So, I mean, it's up to you what you want to do, but I would suggest getting the monitor. But anyway, try Unify for your team at work or try it yourself. Business. Just buy Unify for everybody. There's business licenses. It'll solve a lot of problems. UNIFY meeting, MEETING, unifymeeting.com. We've got an offer code, WW50, for 50% off a year's subscription. Or just use WW. Without the 50, you'll get 25% off of any Memo's displays, and then you get the Memo Unify meeting for free, right? So 50% off a year's subscription with WW50, 25% off any of Memo's displays. Limited time offer. Take advantage of this. Don't forget the Cyber Monday, Black Friday deal, November 24th through the 28th. 100% of the proceeds going to the American Cancer Society. Great company. That's a great offer. And I think you will say life-saving tool. UnifyMeeting.com. WW50 for half off the software. WW all by itself for 25% off the Memo display. And you get the software for free. Simplify with Unify. And we thank him so much for supporting Windows Weekly. Yay, Memo monitors. Woohoo! Now Paul is back with his tip of the week, and I have to say I like your style, my friend.
It seems like the rats are leaving the ship.
Yeah, well, the ship is sinking.
Actually, maybe the rats are staying on the ship and the rest of us leaving.
Yeah, maybe that's really what's going on.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting transition, but I'm going to give it a shot. So
it's worth. First of all, I'm not going to get rid of my Twitter account because I don't want anybody squatting it, and so I still go there probably every day just to see what fresh assault. The latest is Elon sends out an email to every engineer saying, you got two choices. This is like dirty freaking Harry. Okay, punk, do you feel lucky? You got two choices. It's nasty.
Are you serious about war?
If you're willing to work 80 hours a week for no additional compensation and drive this company forward, click yes. If you click no, you're fired.
As I said to Brad this morning, it's like when you get one of those triangle notes in high school and it's like, do you like me? Yes or no? And then you open it and it's like, you get to stay.
Honestly, if I were, and I can't speak for everybody at Twitter, but if I were an engineer and I got that, and he's saying, well, you either say agree to this ridiculous proposition that you're going to have no life now for an undetermined amount of time without additional pay. Right. And by the way, there's no stock, so you ain't getting any stock options. He says, we'll give you stake in the company, but I've been through that before. Without a public market, it ain't worth the paper it's written on. Or we'll give you 90 days severance. Right. Who's going to stay?
So this is what Twitter is like. I made fun of that today on Twitter. Right.
On Twitter.
And of course, you hear from these people who are like, we'll defend this guy no matter what he does. And
but they don't work for Twitter 80 hours a week, I bet.
No, of course, they're idiots. This is like the blind allegiance to a human being who is terrible. Doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, one of the replies I got was like,
that's the story of the last 6 years of the American Republic.
I know. Well, like I said,
that's going to be on our tombstone. We were blindly allegiant.
I think we're going past it.
Yeah.
But not with Elon Musk yet. So one guy said, he goes, I don't know what you're complaining about. 90 days sounds pretty reasonable to me. It's like, God, could you think a little bit? Anyway.
He has to do the 90 days because of the WARN Act. When you do mass layoffs, you have to give the employees and the state advance notice, which obviously he couldn't because he only just got
You're
the
making
company.
it sound like he didn't do it from the, kindness of his heart.
No.
So I don't know
The
why
lawyers came over and said,
Anyway,
and by the way,
look.
did you see his defense? He's been testifying in the Tesla trial.
Right.
And
he had nothing to do with his compensation. Is that
no? The new one is they asked him about because it's Tesla's shareholders suing, saying we don't want to pay you all this money to run Tesla when you're clearly distracted.
Right.
So one of the things they asked him about was the fact that Twitter is under an FTC consent decree, and he knew,
which was probably the first time he heard about it.
and he knew. Feature they roll out, they have to do a report on the security of it because they've fumbled it so badly in the past. And of course, this predates him. And they have to report to the FTC and they have to publish this. And there's a 90-day approval process. There's all these rules that they have to follow. When asked about that, he said, well, that was agreed to under duress. And I don't consider anything agreed to under duress binding.
Huh.
That'll be it. This is going to be interesting.
An interesting interpretation of the law. I wonder how that applies to the people you fired.
Yeah. Or let's say I make a plea bargain because I'm on trial for murder, and they say, well, you could plead guilty, and we're going to send you to jail for the rest of your life, or innocent, or plead guilty, we'll give you 6 years. That's under duress. It's binding. The FTC consent decree is binding. Doesn't matter why.
Right.
It's called a punishment.
There's an alternative, and it's called Mastodon.
Oh, I'm glad have you signed up yet?
I did, and you probably didn't know this because Vivaldi's on the leading edge. They just announced their thing today, Vivaldi Social. But
no,
yeah, Mastodon's a thing, Leo, and
Vivaldi's probably doing Mastodon. I would bet
they are absolutely doing Mastodon. Yeah.
So the thing about Mastodon. We have our own at twit.social.
Decentralized, federated, open source.
So we run our own server. That's the middle part, the local. I'm looking at the advanced web interface. The local timeline. These are all the people who are members of Twit Social. You can follow people, and you can follow them on any server. Those show up in your home timeline. And then there's a federated timeline, which is everybody that everybody on your server is following. So friends of friends.
Right. Nice.
And we're a little over 3,000 members, which is, I think, critical mass for an instance. But I'm not encouraging you to join. What's your new Mastodon?
I'm encouraging you.
Well, what's your new Mastodon? Where are you?
Oh, I'm on you. I'm on Twitch Social.
Oh, are you at TWiT?
I am. I have not done a thing. I have not set up anything. I've just.
Oh, you haven't set it up yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still. I have to go through that process.
Yeah. Well, when you do, I will welcome you with open arms, and we will say hello. We talked about this last week, and there's 3 bots on Mastodon in your name, and those are not you. So you will be eventually at TWiT at twit.social.
Okay.
Good. Welcome.
I will. That's where I'm coming. That's what I'm doing.
There are lots of really nice people, including most of our hosts, who will welcome you. And Father Robert
we joke
Ballas
about this a lot, but I feel like you've also been kind of on the leading edge of, I feel this way too, even though obviously I read a lot about Microsoft and whatever, but open is the future, right? I mean, I'm
a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I know you are. I'm not, but I mean, this is where it's going. This is inevitable. I love that something like this could kill something terrible.
I don't think it's going to kill Twitter, but and it's not the same as Twitter. No, Elon's going to kill Twitter, dude.
Yeah, well, I was right. Okay, death by 1,000 cuts. But
it's nice that there's somewhere people can go to that will give you some, not all, but some of the feels you get when you're on Twitter.
Yep.
And there are a few things you should do. You should follow news organizations. Many of them now have migrated. I think over time, a lot of them will. Here's my great fear. At some point, Stephen Fry's the biggest celebrity right now on Mastodon, and we've survived. But at some point, somebody, Barack Obama, Elon Musk, somebody with tens of millions of followers is going to announce,
it's going to collapse.
I have moved to Mastodon. Mastodon's not built to handle that.
Yeah.
If Steve Martin decides to go to twit.social, I would be thrilled. And I would be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on server hardware.
Interesting. Okay.
We already went through that. We've grown 20,000%, 200 times bigger, and I'm already spending 20 times more on the server than I did before. It's fine.
Well, you won't have to worry about me causing any of those problems, but
I'm very thrilled because we've been doing this for 3 years. I interviewed the ancestor of all this, Laconica, the creator of Identica, Evan Prodromou, on Floss Weekly in 2008. We had I don't know if you remember this, the TWiT Army Canteen. So I've been trying to get people to do this for
for all
years.
The toxicity on Twitter. There are people in big tech. There aren't many, but like the guy who runs Automatic, which is WordPress,
Matt Mullenweg. We had him on Twig a month ago. Amazing guy.
Yeah, I just we got to focus more on these people who are actually solving problems and not causing problems. And he's another big proponent of the open stuff. So anyway,
and Matt's got Tumblr, which is another place people are running to from Twitter. There are a lot of people going to Tumblr.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's that. And then
Thank
I've got
you.
two app picks.
Well, let me give one more plug.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
I don't plug it anywhere else because I only want it to be TWiT listeners, Windows Weekly listeners. The address is twit.social. You don't need an invite. Just go there. When you sign up, you won't be immediately allowed access because I'm keeping Elon Musk and spammers out. So I have to approve you manually. And I've been doing that every day, every morning, about 100, 150 new people.
Wow.
But twit.social is the place. If you're a TWiT listener. But there are many, many servers. You said Vivaldi. If you love Vivaldi and you want to hang out with other people who love Vivaldi, go to vivaldi.social. That's fine. And you can still follow Paul. You can still follow me because that's how.
Because it's all federated.
It's all federated. That's how it works. Yep. Yeah. Thank you for that.
It's a good system.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's the right thing. And then two app picks. Neither of these are in any way Windows apps, but although I guess Descript is technically on Windows. There's a video editor that's been around for a few years called Descript. It's actually a subscription service.
Yes, I'm curious about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've only just barely looked at it, but the company was started by the guy who founded or co-founded Groupon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he seems like a good guy too, actually, by the way. So, but it's kind of like the startup world. So in the startup world, everything is Google Docs and Google Sheets. It's not Microsoft Office. It's kind of a different way of looking at things. But the way they created this was you can create videos using techniques that are similar to the way you might create like a document using Google Docs. And the new version uses AI so that when you record a video, it creates the script as you talk. So it's transcribing what you say. Then you can edit that script to edit the video, which sounds weird at first, but this could potentially be game changing. So
absolutely.
If you go back several months, actually, if you go back to last year, I was working on what was going to become the Windows 11 Field Guide. I wanted it to be different from the previous version, the Windows 10 Field Guide. And one of the things I looked at doing was video. And I thought, in addition to writing about what was happening in whatever chapter, I could have a video that would show that stuff and I could put that in the document. It would be available on the web, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I looked at all these different video editors and everything. I looked at how I might do this. And what I discovered was video is really, really hard. And in a bout of really good timing, your wife came back to me because we had talked about this before the pandemic. But she said, hey, we're starting to do new shows again. Did you want to do what became Hands on Windows? And I said, oh my God, this is such good timing because I don't want to do this video myself. It's too hard. And that's how that kind of happened.
Thank
and so
God
in
this
many ways,
script wasn't around then, or we wouldn't have Hands on Windows.
Well, I mean, I still am going to need a lot of time to figure it out, but I'm intrigued by this because all video editors, at some point you have like a timeline and you're cropping things and you're pulling stuff in and you're doing whatever you do. And the way this works is actually like the way Notion works. So as you type in Notion, for example, if you want to type a heading or something, you'll do /H1 or H2, whatever it might be. And the way that you edit video using the script that it creates as you talk is you type /, and then there are commands for doing things like adding video clips or adding, whatever, or just trimming things. They also got a $50 million investment from the OpenAI fund, if that's the right term, I believe it is, to advance the state of AI in this product. And in the coming year, they're going to be adding a lot more AI features to it, if that makes sense. The OpenAI Startup Fund, sorry. But the way it works right now is actually really kind of exciting and very interesting. You could still go to a timeline view. It's a video editor if you want to, but the theory here is that you could be able to edit a video just using techniques that will be familiar to you from editing like a word processing document. And that's really exciting. I mean, the thing I sort of equate it to is way back when, a long time ago, one of the exciting features that Microsoft added to OneNote back in the day was the ability to record a meeting that you were listening to or watching. And then you would type your notes and you could go in either direction. You could go to any point in the recording and then see what you wrote at that time, or you could go to your notes and then go to that point in the recording, right? And it's sort of like that. The script that it creates, which is the transcription of what you said, becomes the point of edit for the video. It's weird because it's different, but it's potentially very exciting. Anyway, if you care at all about video editing, you should check this out. There's a free version. Obviously, if you're going to use this, you're going to want to use one of the paid versions, but it's reasonable. Anyway,
we live in such interesting times. Technology has really supported people doing their own thing. Kevin Rose told me about Descript more than a year ago, I think. He must be
they've been around for a couple of years, I would think, And
it's just gotten better and better and better. It's really interesting.
I think a lot of, if you follow the progression of video editors, I mean, I think one of the big movements, as it was with photos and anything else, is you bring it to the web first, right? It becomes like a web service. And so you have this interface, like Clipchamp actually is this. And we talked about Clipchamp briefly earlier. Clipchamp is a web app. So I know there's like a Windows app version, but it's just the web app. It's a web app.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that approach, but I think the next, when Google created Google Docs, they looked at Microsoft Word and said, let's make this, but we'll make it in the web. And that's what Google Docs is. And they added some other things like live collaboration, which didn't come to Word for a long, long time. But fundamentally, it's just the same product we've always used, but in a different place. But this is looking at the unique characteristics of the world we live in and the platform they're running on and saying, well, it doesn't have to be the same. I mean, why can't it be different? Like we have different paradigms for editing different types of things. What if this was different? What if it wasn't this really hard to learn and bulky, complicated process? And I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying they're going to succeed, but I'm saying it's very interesting and it's worth looking at for sure.
Yeah.
And then finally, if you are running Android, one thing you might want to look at, we talked about NextDNS in the past, and that's something I use on all my devices. But on Apple, they have a kind of an anti-tracking technology that's built into iOS. I think it's called App Tracking Transparency or something like that. But Android doesn't have that because Google, right? And so DuckDuckGo is among the companies that have created a solution that provides that same functionality on Android. I did use it late last year when it was in private beta on my Pixel 6 Pro before I switched to the iPhone. It seems to work great. It's basically like it sets itself up like a VPN app that sits between your phone and the outside world. So every time an app tries to track you, it hits the VPN and doesn't get out. And they do it in such a way that most apps just work fine. Everything's fine. Similar to NextDNS. They can't claim 100% tracker blocking because some trackers have to get through for things to work. And one of the nice things about having an app on the device that's smart about that is they know which ones those are and so forth. And so it's available now in an open beta, so anyone with an Android phone can get it. And their statistics are that the average Android user has 35 apps on their phone. They experience anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 tracking attempts every single day from 70 different tracking companies. They're the big guys, Google and Facebook. But then there's also this consortium of like whatever tracking networks that basically sells your data to other companies. And it's astonishing, like what they find. Like you should read their blog post about this. Just if you're not sure, like, I don't know if I want this, maybe read this because you do want this. You want to do something like this. Like I said, I'm using NextDNS, which is something you can put on your network if you want on your router. I haven't done that. I install it manually on my phones, but you want that anti-tracking. And this is one solution for that for sure. It's good. It's good based on my experience of almost a year ago, which I know is a long time, but it worked very well for me.
Very nice.
Excuse me. Yes.
Duck, duck, go.
Yep.
Now, you heard Paul say something, and maybe it threw you a little bit, but he has another show on this network called Hands on Windows. But you say, I've never seen that. Well, that's because you're not in Club TWiT. Club TWiT is where we put the good stuff. No, this is where we put news shows that we haven't yet sold to advertisers. We can't, fund. Mm-hmm. And what's nice is we have now this thing called Club TWiT where Club TWiT members fund it. So Hands on Macintosh with Micah Sargent, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott. These are club-only specials. You get all of the shows that we do that you're used to, including this one, without ads, ad-free. You get the Discord, which is always a lot of fun. Discord is where new shows will show up. That's where the weirdos are. And we have events, too, in the Discord. Tomorrow, Jonathan Bennett from one of our shows in the club, the Untitled Linux Show and Floss Weekly, will sit down for an AMA. Glenn Fleischman, who's we love, who's been on Twig and MacBreak Weekly and TWiT a lot, is doing a fireside chat next week. And Stacy's Book Club, they've announced the book for next time, which is in January. So you have a couple of months to read Project Hail Mary, which probably many of you have read. Certainly you have, Paul, I know, and I have. And we loved it, and it's highly recommended. So that'll be fun. So that's an event. Our community manager is Ant Pruitt, so Ant makes it really fun in there and keeps it going. And there's also the TWiT Plus feed, which has all the things that happen that aren't yet part of the podcasts, like discussions we have before and after shows and so forth, plus Hands on Macintosh, Hands on Windows. All of this, I just described a basket of wonderful features. It's just $7 a month. $7 a month. That's all.
A gift basket that doesn't suck.
It's a cornucopia of TWiT content. Yes. Yep. A horn of plenty spilling out the good stuff. And you can join by going to twit.tv/club, twit.tv/club. You also, I should mention, could buy Hands on Windows for $2.99, but you'd only get that. All of the shows are available as individual ad-free versions for $2.99 a month. But really, why not spend a little bit more and get everything, get all of those benefits? There's a year-long plan, which would be a great gift for a geek in your life. Holidays are coming. There's also enterprise plans for your employees, for your business. All of that at twit.tv/club or twit.tv/club twit. Check it out. We appreciate your support. And thank you to all. I would say thank you to all the club members, but because they get ad-free versions of the shows, they don't hear this either. So, right. I mean, when I say ad-free, I mean ad-free. Paul Thurrott, it is.
Before we go, you added an images to the top. I just noticed.
Oh, you just noticed. You
must explain. It must explain yourself.
Do you know what those images are?
Well, I know.
They're mastodons-ish.
Oh, I see.
Get
Mastodon-ish.
Yeah, I don't think they have any actual mastodons.
Gotcha.
But they were the ancestors of today's elephants.
That's right.
I think
they might be making a comeback.
I think they're back. So I had to do that to you. It's funny that's good. You hadn't put anything there. Mary Jo Foley was.
I know. I forgot.
Former banner maker. So I thought I'd stick something in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see if you noticed. And if
sorry, it scrolls off the top when you scroll down, so I didn't see it. I noticed. I just saw it.
By the way, George Takei just joined Mastodon, so maybe that Black Swan event I was talking about, it might have just happened. We'll see.
Tumblr, you say? Next week, tip of the week.
There are. It's amazing the growth. There are 5,000 people running servers now. Some of them are personal individual servers, but a great many of them are public, which means we've really distributed the load.
It's based on the architecture of the internet itself.
Yeah. How do you like that?
Yeah.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, exactly.
Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com, THURRO good.com. Become a premium member there, too, while you're at it. Another great holiday gift for the geek in your life. Lots of great content under the premium banner. His new book, The Field Guide to Windows 11, is out now and includes a copy of The Field Guide to Windows 10. And it's at leanpub.com. That's a must. That's a must for anybody who uses Windows. Thank you, Paul. It's always great to see you. I hope you don't mind. I'm trying to jump in more to be, because so you're not all alone.
No, I rely on it.
It's kind of like the old days where it was just you and me, bud.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I appreciate the time you spend putting this show together and all the work you do on TWiT.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We do Windows Weekly on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. 800 episodes. Wow. And more to come. Many, many more to come. If I
can't wait till we catch up and surpass the main TWiT podcast. Yes. But, we'll see.
Unfortunately, they keep doing shows too,
It's like getting older than your mother.
You know who you're, exactly. Ain't gonna happen. You know who you might surpass though? Steve Gibson has said he's not going to do an episode 1000. He says, I only have room for 3 digits. So,
wow.
He's
got a Y2K problem.
We'll see when the time comes.
Interesting.
Steve might miss doing security now. I think he might. Thank you, Paul. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.
You too.
On Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands On Photography here on TWiT TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.